What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Project Manga Podcast, where we cover One Piece, My Hero, Black Clover, Mashle, Dr. Stone, and Jujutsu Kaisen week to week. Back this week covering Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 25. I'm your host, Eagle.
And I'm Knox.
And I'm Nickums.
And we are joined tonight by a very special guest, the Broken Ronin. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Broken Ronin here, as I was introduced. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man, it's not often we get to have guests on the show because, like, we cover so many different books that it's like not a lot of people, read everything that we cover. So it's awesome you were able to pull up real quick for any of our audience that might not be familiar with you or your content. Just let them know where they, who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
Yeah, so channel name is Broken Ronin. You can, I guess, find me also on Twitter at The Broken Ronin. What I do basically is a lot of anime and manga analysis content. If you take a look on my channel, you would see a lot of it's Jujutsu Kaisen, just because I'm really passionate about that series. Theories, character analysis, all kinds of good stuff, focusing on other series. I cover a bunch of different things, but especially if you like JJK, My Hero, and a bunch of other of those weekly Shonen Jump series, I think you would, enjoy my channel and enjoy some of the videos I have to offer.
Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, great content.
Good shit.
Yeah, and of course we'll put links down in the description for anywhere you can follow Ronan and peep what he's got going on.
Yes, sir.
And as usual, while you're down in that description peeping his links, go ahead and take a look at ours, our where you can follow our individual social media accounts like Twitter, join our online communities such as Discord, listen to the podcast rather wherever you would normally listen to podcasts. And also there's ways to support us that you can check out down there, like our online shop and our Patreon.
Sir.
Also, timestamps that you can use to conveniently navigate through the video and avoid spoilers if need be. And with all that said, how you guys feel about Jump this week, man?
Oh man. No One Piece, but I'm hyped that Ronan's here for this Jujutsu Kaisen chapter because holy shit.
Yes.
Really good all around. Really good all around Jump this week, gotta say.
Absolutely.
I would agree. Well, I mean, I would say let's waste no time getting into it. let's talk about Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 149, Perfect Preparation Part 2. And seeing as you're our guest tonight, let's let Ronan kind of take the helm here.
Yes.
What do you think of this chapter, man?
Yeah, so starting off, I will say this chapter in comparison to the other ones we've been seeing is very action oriented. As before, we've kind of seen Gege Akutami has been setting up a lot of the cooling games, a lot of exposition, a lot of character setup, telling us who's going where and all that good stuff, which is fine. That has its place in manga, but it's not nearly as just hype and exciting as seeing our characters throw hands in the way that Gege is really good at doing.
Yeah.
So we get a big focus on Maki and Mai's relationship and kind of the dynamic between those two. And I'm guessing we'll kind of go into more detail as we kind of discuss and unfurl, but overall, this is just a really good chapter and something that I personally was really excited to see, especially since about a month ago, I kind of called Maki was going to go through this development, so I was hyped when I saw this.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Hell yeah. And this is I feel like something that has, for a lot of people, been something that we really wanted to see from Maki, but wasn't sure exactly how Gege was going to deliver that, if they wanted to or if they were at all. Obviously, the events of the end of the chapter let us know a great deal about the future of Maki's character. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people had been having their fingers crossed for in regard to Maki, you know what I mean? And now it seems like it's kind of here. One thing I wanted to do before we really get into the events of the chapter and kind of go through it from start to finish, I wanted to jump forward a little bit and just there's a inside of what I've seen in comment sections and inside of the community for Jujutsu Kaisen since the chapter dropped, there seems to be a little bit of confusion around what kind of happened to Maki after the events of these chapters. I just want to say, just nip it in the bud right now, that at least I thoroughly am very confident that Maki did not get Mai's cursed energy and a cursed technique.
No.
Right?
She said explicitly, "I'll take the cursed energy with me."
Great, but I'm just, and I'm sure that we all, we're kind of on the same page there. This is more so for the audience that may have been confused. What we're seeing here at the end of this chapter is a fully realized heavenly restriction,
and
right.
Not, the Toji comparison.
Exactly. So that was something that I saw people arguing about, and I was like, I don't know why people are arguing about this, but I want to make a point to like throw that out there at the beginning of the conversation so that we're all kind of on the same page about like what kind of happened there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And just what a sad thing, you know what I mean? To like
Yeah.
to have that rule in place where if you have a twin, you one has cursed energy, one does not, and if the one that doesn't wants to be fully realized, like the other one has to die. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. That's super rough.
That is rough as hell, man.
And my dying in Maki's arms like kind of like recreating that symbolism from the cover of the last chapter.
Oh,
inside
sure,
of
like
the
both
womb.
of them
Both
together
of them
in, the
in
womb
that
kind of
like
thing,
fetal
yeah.
position.
Fetal
you know
position,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like holy
Oh,
shit!
wow.
What a way to kind of like end that that stretch of storytelling there.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
Yeah,
Man.
sad as fuck, dude.
That
And
was,
I'm- yeah, go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead,
on.
Ronnie.
Oh, I mean, it was just like, I know we all kind of share the same sentiment, but that was honestly a very sad, like really emotional thing because one, I think even though Mai is kind of portrayed to be this really kind of almost annoying person, as you kind of understand what she's put through, you kind of realize, okay, maybe I should take a step back and realize, okay, I'm kind of blaming a victim of this like vicious cycle and system that's been made to just make her feel this way. And then when you realize that, like, honestly, Mai was a major part of Maki's whole motivation, right? The reason she wanted to take over the clan, as we see last chapter, and it's kind of been shown for a long time, is not only because she wants to kind of stick it to the Jujutsu sorcerers and the Zenin clan, that she's powerful and she can be strong without cursed energy or cursed techniques, but it's also because she wanted to create an environment in which Mai could feel safe and comfortable for herself. So I think it's kind of poetic that with Mai's passing, with Mai's death, her desire to become head of the clan also dies, right? And she decides, okay, you know, you took Mai away from me inadvertently, so I'm going to just rip it apart, right? Instead of trying to reform, instead of trying to like try to change it, I'm just gonna raze it all, destroy it, get rid of it, and that's cold.
Super cold.
Yeah, dude, I love that, and it's very exciting because when you think of a character like Toji Ushiguro in the story, when he was introduced inside of the hidden inventory flashback, like that was a very drastic situation. It was the dude who killed Gojo. It was like this huge tone shift in the narrative, and now we're seeing that in a protagonist now. So like that's like extremely exciting. I'm thinking of how the main cast is going to deal with the odds inside of the Culling game and inside of Kenjaku's puppeteering and things like that, and it seems so stacked on the enemy side, especially coming out of Shibuya with the losses that we saw in that arc. So seeing like fully realized Maki, you know, with a full heavenly restriction on par with Toji makes the you know, not the stakes, but like the scaling. I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for right now, but it brings a level of balance to the conflict that we're about to go into that makes it a little bit less nail bitey. You know what I mean?
The power balance.
Yeah, because dude, Toji was acting a fool in Shibuya. You know what I mean? So it's
God.
like when Toji was around, like nobody could breathe in Shibuya, and that was the highest stakes that we had seen so far. You know what I mean? So now we're going into, you know, the Culling game with a Toji legitimately on our side. So it's like that's really intense, and it makes me wonder if we have such a broken ally now, what are these enemies going to look like in this fucking arc? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Hell yeah, man.
I also love that, like, Toji, like, I feel like when Toji came back, you know, in the Shibuya incident arc, I was pretty hyped, you know what I mean? Like, yes, like, Toji's back, he's not dead, you know what I mean? And then Toji ends up, you know, dying, the puppet or whatever died or whatever. And it's like, damn, but Toji was such a cool character. It's like, okay, we got Toji back, it's just Maki now. Maki's Toji now.
Yeah,
This is tight as hell.
And honestly, Toji came in, he did his thing, he was an incredible character, he broke the internet during the hidden inventory shit, he played his role, he came back in Shibuya and went crazy again. That's enough. Now, like, we have, like, Toji, you know, essentially inside of Maki, and it's a completely different character, but this is the character we want to be Toji. Almost more than just having Toji in the story, I feel like, you know what I mean? Almost to a certain degree, but...
It means more, like, thematically to have this kind of, like, this cycle kind of break itself. Now, one thing I wanted to touch upon a little bit is, like, the details that Akutami, like, kind of brings back. Like, so if you guys noticed... the sword that Mai makes for Maki is basically an exact replica of Toji's. That gave me goosebumps upon realizing that. But what also got me is, I don't know if you guys read the interviews, but basically there was this kind of point in Toji's life where they would just throw him in this like dungeon or this room full of cursed spirits and then just have him battle it out. And that's how he actually canonically got the scar on his face, right? The little thing on his
so
lip.
it's like a room similar to this one.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's
Probably
the same room.
Same,
Yeah, because when he was like, their father was like, yeah, this is a room for basically training, but for you guys, we're just gonna have you get eaten by curses. And I was like, wow, that he's really he was really laying the parallels between the two on extremely thick and making it pretty well known that like, okay, this is the next step for Maki. This is where she's going as not only a character, but as like a powerhouse, right? Because now before Maki was no scrub, right? She's not weak.
Right.
She's not like, but we know in comparison, right? She couldn't handle Dagon, which makes sense. He's a special grade, right?
You could see those shortcomings when she was actually up against motherfuckers that weren't, that you shouldn't fuck with in the series, like
the ones that were out here throwing out domains like it was it was candy, and I was like, okay, like
but I mean, like in the Kyoto exchange event and whatnot, she dominated that shit obviously because she's such a higher tier above everybody else involved physically. So it set a tone for Maki's character. Like it gave you a bunch of expectations of how she would perform in the actual field. And I appreciate Gege, for their scaling inside of what they showed of Maki inside of the Shibuya incident, because we had no idea that she was going to get this drastic progression, inside of this pre-Culling game situation. So seeing her get kind of manhandled by Dagon and not have as impressive of a showing inside of the Shibuya incident, I feel like really kind of demoralized Maki fans to a certain degree, especially because of what people were saying about Nobara inside of the Shibuya incident, just like the female power landscape inside of students inside of Jujutsu Kaisen has kind of felt underwhelming in conversation on the timeline, or at least in certain, conversational circles. So this is like huge, you know what I mean? Because it shows that Gege had a very long plan for all of these characters. And whenever you can feel that inside of the narrative, it feels really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those hindsight, retrospective look back kind of situations that make you appreciate previous storytelling a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah, one thing in particular, I think Gege Akutami is not only really good at doing, but particularly did this part really well, is the foreshadowing. And I mentioned earlier a little bit that I kind of called this, but like, I think when you look back, right, so in the beginning, Maki is said to have a heavenly restriction, but it's made well known that it is incomplete and she still has some cursed energy, right? Moving forward a couple dozen chapters to Toji, Yuki, I think, makes it clear he has zero, absolutely none. He's the only one like him, right? So that already makes a distinction, like, okay, Toji his heavenly restrictions just on a completely different level. And I think throughout Shibuya, where we see Maki's like, did I just get overpowered in a physical clash?
That's right.
That gave me, it's like, okay, she needs to get there. And then when she was like, it's these small details that do it for me.
There's another one, the Dagon fight, where is that what you were about to bring up? Yeah.
It's like he's like, how is this thing with no cursed energy beating me, right? It's like he says something similar to Maki, but he makes it very clear that she has low cursed energy, not none. And I think it's like these continuously thing. Megumi, when he's fighting Toji, being like, he's like Maki, but fully realized. I think I think Gege Akutami has slowly just kind of been pouring out like, okay, I don't know if you guys are listening, but Maki's not Toji, but she needs to get there because Toji's out here washing special grades that Maki can't even touch, right? And now we have this massive jump that not only makes sense, it's been foreshadowed for dozens and dozens of chapters. It also just adds a lot to her character. And moving forward, now she has the potential to actually act on her goals, whereas before she didn't really have the power to do so. And I think that's really cool.
And it feels it feels extra earned because Maki has such an impressive showing at the beginning of her character arc, and then you go straight into just L's. You know what I mean? And she lost elegantly in those moments. You know what I mean? Like, we loved Maki's performance even in the moments where she was being overpowered, because she's just that good of a character. So when you have all of that build up going into the eventual full realization of her character that we have by the end of this chapter, it feels so necessary and it feels so overdue. Like, it's like, I'm so happy that we're here right now, not, oh my god, this is jarring, what is this huge power increase? You know what I mean? And another thing inside of that Dagon fight, when Toji's working him with the playful cloud, you get a panel of Maki like studying the entire situation. Like, so that's what I have to do.
Exactly.
That's what I can be one day. You know what I mean? And that was a huge point of conversation when those chapters were coming out on this show. specifically because we were like, okay, we know that Gege is setting this up. How are we going to get from point A to point B, though? You know what I mean? But now, obviously, we have that destination. We're at it now, and it just feels so good.
Yeah, man.
And I'm gonna have a little bit of a question. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the art at the end of this chapter when it's the juxtaposition panel with Mashle and Toji.
Yeah.
And his eyes.
Oh yeah.
The fear, the absolute fear. And
yeah,
then
that's
he
the thumbnail.
instantly
Baby.
just goes OD. You know what I'm saying? Full release.
Okay, well let's talk about that then. Yeah.
That turn page or that page turn.
Yeah.
I
So
was
gross.
like, what the actual fuck? Holy shit.
Right.
But I want to talk about
great
Ogi going into his technique. So it felt very fear induced, like arms flaily, like spaghetti arms, like no no refinement, no focus. It's just like, oh my god, malicious intent. Let me just unload the clip and just spray in 360 degrees and see if I win. You know what I mean? Like there was no it didn't really feel, I mean, considering like the previous confrontation with Ogi, he was a lot more confident, he was a lot more reserved, he was on his back foot because he knew how it was going to go. You know what I mean? They kind of had that entire mental battle before the physical shit even started, like we see in samurai and like warrior confrontations in Eastern fiction all the time. The time stops for both of them. They have the whole fight mentally, and then they finally go into their attack, and then one of them, it kind of felt like that before, more refined, fighting styles. But here it's like, Toji, whoa, rah! You know what I mean? Like, let's see, and he gets his fucking head sliced off.
He's scared.
He's so
so terrified. And that to me, when he's like, my body remembers, but I tried so hard to forget this fear. I was like, no, bro, that's cold.
And then Gege's like gradient style into the blacks, like the the light. There's a lot of whites in the screen tones going into the blacks in the sphere, panel. And then it's just boom. That's the thumbnail for sure. That
I think I don't know.
And then
I would think with a warrior as experienced as Ogi, he can release a refined technique at any point in time.
He can.
The way I took it, I guess, is he knew it was enough of a threat where he just had to go full fucking release.
And that's fine too. But just comparing it from the last confrontation to this one, he seems a lot more fidgety. You know what I mean? Like reaction or I don't even know what the term I'm looking for is, but
right.
Yeah,
but like especially the bottom panel of 17, right? Like he looks like he's kind of half terrified, half like just screaming to hype himself up. You know what I mean? Like really freaking out about it. He doesn't seem as cool and collected as last chapter at all, for sure.
Exactly. But you are totally right.
He was talking all that shit.
Yeah. He was.
He's like, you're worthless. You're garbage. You're the only reason I'm not the clan leader. And I was like, okay, you keep talking. And then it was like, boom. And his head was just in half. And I was like, yes. Look at Maki. Now, I wanted to talk about something. It's a little bit more low key. But if you notice in that like double page spread after Maki does her thing, there's these geese flying in the middle panel.
Geese?
And I was kind of researching after because I was like, okay, there has to be a reason to just throw geese in here, right? And it turns out geese and symbolism is kind of reminding you that like we take on quests or like these kind of like these journeys or these decisions for our family, right? And for that to mean that like Maki's kind of taking this on for Mai because that was Mai's final wish, and because like geese also kind of represent this like change in your path in your direction. So for Maki, I think for her to go from reforming to completely destroying, I think is like that was really cool. That's a really nice nod where he just throws that in, and if you get it, you get it. It's a nice nod. If you don't, I mean, it's just some nice art to look at as well with Maki being extremely cold out here. So
well, it's the same geese that are in the beach scene with Mai and Maki as well. So.
Sure. Wow. Okay. I see him right there on 10.
What? Those are seagulls.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah. I think that is a
geese?
different bird, isn't it?
I think they're different.
They look
if you look at the
beaks.
beaks.
To me.
No, the one right next to the speech bubble on 10, the but I do, then there's no point or whatever, like that one looks like a goose.
Yeah.
But the one on the very, very left looks like a seagull to me.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. But I mean, we can
probably right.
assume that it's got to be the
must
same bird. Otherwise, why would you show two different birds?
The coloring on the wings and stuff looks the same.
It is very similar. Yeah. Super similar.
Oh yeah.
In terms of Ogi's technique or whatever, last episode of the podcast, I theorized that like, what if his extension of his blade was Mai's curse technique, right? Like that Mai inherited her technique from her father, and like he just grew the blade, right? But like here, it's obviously fire, right? It's a fire blade, and we really couldn't tell last chapter because it's just white, you know what I mean? So
and it says blazing courage, so it made me think that like maybe he was turning his courage into fire, kind of, but like that like kind of feels a little bit too quirkish.
It's ironic.
Like My Hero Academia.
Yeah. I think it's irony.
And I was going to go into that too, but when I the blazing courage thing, because it made me remember like Redestro from fucking My Hero Academia, and how he can turn his stress into a physical aura. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I, for the first thing I thought when I saw blazing courage was courage into fire, but I don't know how that really works in Jujutsu terms. But but yeah, it is ironic though, Ronan. You can go ahead on that point for sure.
I was just gonna say it's ironic how his body feels this like immense fear, and he pulls out blazing courage. I honestly think Gege Akutami has a very interesting sense of humor in that sense, where he just likes to really make light of these like intense situations. Honestly, it's really interesting. I think you get a lot of it throughout many chapters. This one especially, I think you feel like this like catharsis seeing this, not only just seeing Ogi get taken out, but the fact where like Maki is just standing there right after, no remorse, just perfectly fine. She's like, all right, she's like, yeah, let's get started. And I'm waiting for Naoya versus Maki. I need Naoya to pull up with this energy, because if he does, he's getting smoked.
You want to talk about cathartic, bro? Oh my god, when Naoya, Yep, we're on the same page there. That's gonna be fucking incredible.
Yes.
100%. And I wanted to talk about like Ogi's death here, because I think I said last week that we might get deeper character writing for Ogi, you know, in the future, because of how he was crying after he cut down Maki, and like I was kind of talking about how, you know, maybe the indoctrination of the Zenin clan's protocols and day-to-day, you know, life for over decades and decades of time have kind of, I don't know if jaded is the right word, but it's kind of warped the outlook of the Zenin males to the point where, yes, you think your kids suck if they're not strong, but they're still your kids. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, I wanted to give him a lot more credit than he was fucking worth last week, because he's literally crying as he cuts down Maki, and I was like, is he crying because he can't help it, because he knows it's wrong to cut down his daughter, but that ideology is fighting the Zenin clan ideology of like absolute power inside of men. So I thought we were going to get like this super deep character arc for Ogi, but no, fuck him. Now I'm thinking that like he was crying for himself in that moment. Like, I'll never be as good as my brothers because of you. You know what I mean?
Equally possible. And honestly, I wouldn't even put it past Akutami to posthumously like give Ogi character writing. He did that with Toji, right?
That's true.
He's done that with
true.
Characters before. Like, I think it just depends if it might honestly work in a way that's like, okay, sure, Ogi died before we got the characterization, but it might make it like, in retrospect, as Maki continues to cut down these people, I think it'd be a very interesting technique to, after Maki cuts them down, we're kind of like, why were they like this, and things like that. And that would be, I think, really, really cool. I think that would be a lot different than a lot of other authors tend to do their stuff. A lot of them, they front load you with backstory, which is cool. That's fine. That's perfectly valid. But I think doing it in the opposite way would create a really interesting effect, where you kind of feel like heavier and heavier, and you start feeling less and less catharsis with each death, because you're like, oh wow, even though they're messed up, they were a human being too. Right. And kind of how far, almost, it's kind of this, I think, recurring thing that's been in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's like this line between like the evil that the cursed spirits hold within themselves, and like the evil that humans have the capacity for. Like, how close are we really between the two, right? We have curses that are extremely empathetic and like Dagon and like Hanami, and then we have human beings that are just the scum of the earth, with like Naoya and all these other characters. So it's like, it's almost like, okay, this line starts to become really flipped, and it'd be really interesting if Akutami like humanizes some of these characters posthumously like a lot more.
Yeah,
for sure.
And they're really good at doing that. So like, the more that we see it, since it is kind of a rare storytelling technique to do it the opposite way, like you said, Ronan, whenever Gege does it, it's like, I feel like I just want them, like, just go ahead, you have the keys, you know what I mean? Like, do what you got to do. You can do that. I feel like as many times as you want. Like, it's so successful inside of characters like Gojo and Toji, you know what I mean? Like, whenever Gege wants to do that, I feel like that's a part of their style, and it just fits for the pacing of the series too, because we want to keep the action going, but Gege does such a good job of, you know, fleshing out concepts and giving us world building even in wholly action based chapters. You know what I mean? So since they have the pacing down pat, you can afford to introduce a character, give them light character writing, have them die, and then give them more character writing later, and it's all going to fit cohesively into your, you know, your storytelling structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
For sure.
I'm super here for a situation like that. Absolutely, Ronan.
Yeah.
Now, I had a little bit of a question just because this was kind of like bothering in the back of my mind. Because after I read the chapter, nobody could tell me anything about this chapter. I was like, it's fire, it's great. I don't really care what you have to say about it.
Yeah.
But
Can I guess the question?
Really...
I think I can guess the question.
Yeah.
And if this isn't your question, then I have a question too. Is your question about the sword?
Ooh, I was gonna ask about that later, but that wasn't the one I was talking about.
All right,
yet.
go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I was wondering, did you guys like? I didn't read the spoilers, right? This was all new to me. But have you guys been like seeing the community around the JJK like chapter spoilers?
I
like,
was there for the
this week?
spoilers.
Did you see the reaction to it?
Yeah, I did.
People were like, "This is garbage. This was."
What's up with Gege and all this incest in their characters? Gege's
and I was like,
and I'm like, bro.
Someone was like, I was like, like that was just like, come on now, like you're really stretching. Like, no, I'll give you Mei, right? That's straight up.
That's straight up.
Weird, and you
I'll
can't
give
deny
you that.
that. But this situation is like they're siblings, and one of them is
and they're dying.
Like,
like
was it CPR? It looked like CPR to me. You know what I mean? Like
I think it was.
She's knocked out.
And isn't it in their mind?
I think the kiss was a catalyst for the dream sequence.
Sure. Okay, I can believe that too. But like,
at least that's what I saw.
Maki's knocked out. Maki's knocked out. She's Mai's touching her heart and like, yep, she's alive. You're tough. You know. And then she goes in for like this kiss, quote unquote. I guess. I mean,
if this is the last time I'm going to see my sister, why not? One, we're siblings. Two, we're fucking twins, dude. This is not. You can't even try to compare this to Mei and Ui, and you're fucking weird for trying. And you're extra weird for making such a big stink when it's just spoilers and you have like half of the raws to look at. Like you don't even have like full imagery. You literally have like 3 little pictures and some text-based translations that may or may not be accurate. So it's like, what are we really doing here? How long have you been, on Twitter?
how long have you been reading manga, like just in general, right? And the thing that had me like really kind of shook is like all these people, like it was almost like from what I saw like a unanimous decision from all the people that like read leaks or whatever that this chapter was garbage. And I was like, oh, maybe he missed. I was like, I was sorry, and I was like, hold on, I don't know, I wasn't seeing a singular person stand up for the chapter. I read it, I'm like, I honestly cannot pick out like a thing that he did wrong. They were like, the death was bad. I was like, how? I was like, it's emotional for not only Maki but us, right? One, because Mai is a semi-fleshed out character, but two, because we care about Maki. What Maki cares about, we care about, right?
Exactly.
That's exactly how it is. We don't have to. It's almost like, for example, right, with Sumuki. If Sumuki died, right? Man, I don't even want to speak that into existence.
Don't manifest that, please.
But if that happened, right, and Megumi was torn apart, I'd be torn apart because Megumi's my favorite character. I don't have to know Sumuki in and out. It's because you have a connection to the characters that their empathetic feelings rub off on you, right? And I feel like people are being like particularly like just really, I don't know. It's almost like when they read other series, they give it all these benefit of the doubts, which is fine. I think you should for the most part. They give it the benefit of the doubt. They really analyze, but some people with JJK, it's just like what you see is what you get, and they see nothing past that.
Exactly.
They remove the context that this is in the context of a whole story. They remove everything else that's happened, and it's just like, ooh, Mai died, Mai not major character, bad author. And I'm like, okay, I guess.
I think a lot of that, and we were talking about this a little bit in the Yaga death, chapter, a couple chapters ago, and I feel like a big thing for a lot of people, not everybody, but I feel like what I'm noticing a lot inside of the community when I see complaints like these is that people have, their experience with shonen storytelling, and they have the history of shonen storytelling that they kind of look back to and reference whenever they see things happening outside of what they're expecting, right? So when you are following a story and you think you know how it's going to go, and then the author throws a curveball, it's either going to go holy shit hype twist, or it's going to go, wait a minute, they're handling something I thought that I was super familiar with inside of this area of storytelling differently. And when people experience things that they're expecting, and it happens differently. For a lot of people, the first reaction is, this is bad, because I know what's good. I know how this should be handled, and the author is doing something differently. So now I feel like I don't know as much as I thought I did, and that offends me. You know what I mean? So at least that's what it feels like to me inside of a lot of the community. So that's why I said in the Yaga chapters, it's like, look, Gege has been establishing what death means in this series from the beginning. And not only do you have that theme constantly being rehashed and driven home throughout the series, you also have like the concept of jujutsu sorcerers and what it means to be one also going on in the background. And when you look at all of the dialogue related to what it means to be a jujutsu sorcerer, in pretty much every one of those conversations, you'll have people saying, I don't know what a meaningful death means. I see people die that I thought I would be with for my entire life, as friends. Like, look at fucking Nanami and Haibara, look at fucking all of these character interactions and character relationships throughout the series. Everybody just gets taken without a swan song, without this grandiose scene. You just see Haibara on a fucking stretcher one day, and you're like, we were supposed to walk out of there together. That's what it's about. It's about, this is such a cutthroat, ruthless world that is very much like ours. You know what I mean? Think about anybody that that's died. You know what I mean? Did they get a crazy, grandiose spectacle or platform to die on with a bunch of people surrounding them? No, they didn't. A lot of people die alone.
Man,
you know what I mean?
You just put my entire thoughts into words. It's like, okay, right. Does Jujutsu Kaisen handle death in the same way that like a Naruto does, or like older gen shonen where you build up the death, you have them kind of like monologuing to themselves for a long time before they slow. And there's not, honestly, I like that too.
That's
that has its place in shonen.
Oh my god,
but the
that's
thing
so
is,
fine.
you have to look at it for what it is. It to me, the analogy I always give is like, okay, Akutame is trying to show you that death is not always and rarely is this grandiose, large thing. It happens and people die, and you have to deal with that and hold them in your heart, right?
Especially if it's quick. Especially if it's quick and they're alone. It's like, holy shit. You think about how they died. You think about how fast it was. You think that they weren't surrounded by anybody that they love, and that hurts you. And when it hurts you that deeply, it develops you or progresses you in a certain way. It changes you, adds character, whatever. Your outlook is significantly changed from that point on. And like, what more do we want in shonen storytelling right now than legitimate growth catalysts outside of just I need to win in this moment because I'm getting my ass kicked? What are other catalysts for growth that we can explore? And especially inside of the death theme, it's like, dude, Gege is clearly trying to show you a different way to do death in shonen. And if you're going to fucking sit there every time they do it and go, well, that's not like Naruto, well, that's not like this manga or that manga that I'm used to, that molded my expectations of shonen. So what are you doing, Gege? Are you trying to make me look like an idiot? I can totally see them, you know what I mean? Like, it's like focus more on what the author is trying to show you instead of instantly trying to compare it to other executions that you think were better. You know what I mean? They have their own 100%. Story. You know what I mean?
It's like, do you go to a comedy series and then expect this deep, overarching narrative that spans thousands of chapters, or do you go there to laugh, right? Akutame is trying to show you the quick ways that people are taken from you, and you're expecting these long, drawn-out. That's completely contradictory. Now, if you don't like that the way that's told, that's fine. It would just mean Jujutsu Kaisen isn't for you. But you can't call out, like, the same way you can't call out a comedy for being a comedy and not anything else. You can't call out Jujutsu Kaisen for literally executing on the themes that were set since chapter 1 of the series and say that's a criticism. I'm sorry to tell you, it's just not a valid one, right?
You just don't understand the story, and that's fine. But when people tell you, fucking step outside of yourself and look down and go, damn, maybe I was just wrong about what I thought this series was trying to do. It's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like at least now you understand the story you read every week better. You know what I mean? Like, be appreciative of that. You know what I mean? And even if you weren't convinced, agree to disagree and understand that people have different outlooks on these things. You know what I mean? And when it comes down to it, if you really have an issue with it, remember fucking Yuji's character. Because what's his whole thing? Wanting a meaningful death, surrounded by everyone who just gets yanked out of the fucking story, seemingly arbitrarily, with no meaning behind it, at first. Obviously there's meaning there. But I think that's what Gege is trying to do, is show you all of the kinds of deaths that Yuji does not want for himself. Wow. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
switch gears
That's a
little
really
bit.
interesting interpretation.
Yeah. To stay on the death scene here or whatever,
Yeah.
but switch gears a little bit. In terms of like this quote unquote kiss or whatever, right? A couple more things that, at least like my initial interpretation was CPR, because like, you know, she says on page 7 like, this sucks.
Yes.
Like Mai's like, this sucks. And then you have the underwater shot, like it's in black water, bubbles bubbling up, and then Maki wakes up on a beach, right? It's as if she just was drowning and Mai saved her. You know what I mean? Like that's why I thought it was like CPR.
This is a really cool line of thinking. You drag them out from drowning on the beach. You check their heart, make sure it's still beating. All right, boom, into the mouth to mouth CPR. That's a really cool line of thought.
Yeah.
I like
Could
that.
be. Could be.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the sword.
Yeah, so the sword. Okay, so the sword is cool. It's obviously hype. This is Toji's sword, essentially, from when he attacked Geto and Gojo and Amanai, Riko. But my question is, how does Mai know to make this sword?
To me, it's almost like not necessarily that she knew what she was intending fully.
Was it because
but
I'm sitting here thinking that it works almost similar to creation inside of Yaoyorozu, inside of My Hero Academia.
That's kind of what. Yeah, I think that's what she does. She does say that on the beach, that like I can only make one thing, and it has to be small. It can't be complicated. You know what I mean? So it is very similar to Yaoyorozu. The fact that like on the very last page, Maki is looking down at the sword and talking to Mai, kind of tells me that like Maki views the sword as Mai potentially.
I like
and
that
and
a
so
lot.
the sword might be maybe Mai's like ultimate application of her technique, right? She took all of her life force and all of her personality and made a curse tool out of it, and this is it. You know what I mean?
But how like the coincidence of it being the same sword as Toji's just makes me think for some reason that Mai has encountered this sword before, and that is totally possible if it's a Zenin tool. Like Zenin clan keeps all the tools or whatever. She has to have seen it or something like that. But the fact that like there wasn't that scene ever injected into the storytelling of like them at least looking at curse tools together and seeing Toji's blade there would have done wonders for this moment, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like it was literally one panel of them, a flashback of them looking at curse tools and having a conversation. Then you see, the fur on the hilt in the corner of the page or something like that we can go back to and go, okay, mine knows about this sword because of this. But it feels if that was the only like jarring moment for me in the entire chapter, is that like how the fuck, why did she make this sword in particular?
Slightly different version of what I just said, but what if this Mai has an inherited technique, and this is the ultimate application of her inherited technique, and Toji's sword was made from the exact same way of a previous inheritor of her technique?
Fuck. And this is just like the that's a cool angle.
Because it is the exact same sword. I'm looking at the screenshot right now. It's the exact same sword.
It is the exact same sword. That's
I kind of came at it with a little bit of a different angle.
Sure.
I thought of it is more of like symbolic, because Gege Akutami went really symbolic. The geese, the kind of the drowning and being revived on the beach. The beach kind of represents a lot of times in fiction like the beginning or like the end of a life. So I think he really went in on the symbolism. What I think is like Mai's dying wish is to destroy the Zenin clan, right? So what she makes is basically what instinctually becomes the epitome of destruction of the Zenin clan. And Toji, if you guys remember, essentially is that, right? Toji was the blemish on the skin of the Zenin clan, right? He was the one mistake that even now they can't erase. He made Megumi. Not only did he escape their grasp, right? He's basically kind of the precursor to Maki. And I think that what Mai did, maybe subconsciously, or maybe Gege is just doing this for a lot of symbolism, is Mai wanted nothing more than to create destruction for the Zenin clan. And who better, or what better to use than the weapon of the original kind of destroyer of the Zenin clan, the one who started it. And Maki's Mai uses that sword to kind of help Maki finish it.
That feels great to me, Ronan. I'm not gonna lie. That feels great to me. The only thing that bothers me about that is that the symbolism that we've seen inside of Jujutsu Kaisen up until this point has not manifested physically inside of a weapon that someone is going to continue to use moving forward. The symbolism that we see is inside of like monozygotic twins on the cover of the last chapter.
Yeah.
And then going into this, this page on page 13, of them curled up in fetal position, referencing that womb situation. You have all of this symbolism that doesn't actually take hold in the real world, and that is literally just aesthetic symbolism for the audience. But now we have a situation where it's symbolism, but then also it's an actual artifact that's a physical existence in the story that's going to be used moving forward. And that's fine if the symbolism works for that. If I felt like there was a little bit more of a hint to it before this, like I was saying earlier, like a panel of them looking at these tools and literally seeing them. Now, if it's a situation where, like Nick was saying, the previous owner of this techniques ultimately, manifested this, like if it's just like this sword is the ultimate Zenin creation technique creation, you know what I mean? Like if that's what it is, and like we're seeing and this is the second time that we're seeing this sword created in the exact same way, and Gege wants to reference back to that later in the storytelling, that'll obviously enhance this scene drastically, and we know that Gege does that. So I for one am personally, just because of my gripe with the chapter, hoping we see that. If we don't see that, is that going to be at the end of the world? Fuck no. But like that is going to remain like probably the most jarring situation in this chapter for me personally. But I love all of your input on the why and the reasoning and the justification. So
I was gonna say it is convenient that it is the same sword, especially because right after that, when Ogi looks at Maki and sees Toji, I wonder if part of him seeing Toji is the sword, right? Like here's someone with heavily restriction and holding that sword, that sword in particular. It's like, oh shit, I'm terrified, you know what I mean? But would Mai know to do that, right? Like, so it almost has to be subconscious in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I
agree.
know.
I agree. Yeah.
Well,
need that exposition for sure.
Need that for sure. That's the one thing that obviously I can't wait to get into the culling game and see Maki turn up in all the ways that we know she's going to, and everyone else involved in the culling game. It's going to be a ridiculous arc. But yes, probably one of the things in the back of my head that I'll always wonder about is, are we going to get more information on this sword? And
I think we'll have a lot of opportunities to get this exposition, because as she goes and
going crazy with
slaughtering all the Zenin clan people, like someone's gonna be like, oh, that sword or whatever, or say when she goes and meets up with Megami, right? Like, oh, Megami might be like, oh, that sword,
or she could just herself think about the sword, and then we'll get a flashback sequence. For any reason that Gege wants to give us information about the sword. So
easy to tee up for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, do you guys have anything else for this chapter? I think that about does it.
Ronan, I think Ronan was going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to ask real quick, just a little bit of like a slight prediction. Do you think Maki's going to have any trouble with any of the Zenin clan members?
Fuck
based on what we've seen.
Fuck no. Look, bro. Hey, with Toji?
Oh, you spitting? You
spitting?
Okay. You right?
Okay.
Don't even need to question it. You right?
Come on, man.
And I mean, Ogi said explicitly, like, I'm cold.
He said he's just as tight as Naobito, if not tighter.
The only reason that I'm not the clan head, I'm cold.
Low diffed. So at the peak of his technique, low diffed.
He got low diffed.
Come on.
I don't even know. It's like neg diffed.
Maki's chilling. I don't see Maki. And you want to know what? You want to know another thing? Oh my god, I just thought about this. So Angel Kurusu, the one with the curse technique that's essentially the inverted spear of heaven. Like Maki's the hard counter for that situation.
She is.
Yeah. So like we were talking about the possibilities that the curse technique removal aspect of the culling game comes from this Angel Kurusu character, since they have a technique that literally eliminates your technique. So that's what made us think that Angel Kurusu was a Kenjaku agent. You know what I mean? And that they were, the reason for that rule in the game.
Right.
You know what
like
I
a
mean?
referee of the game.
Like a referee
involved
in the
with the
game,
rule
or
and
whatever.
If
you blow it, if you do whatever the fucking rules say, they bring you to Angel Kurusu and they fucking zap your curse technique away. So like, if that's the case, Maki's about to be the answer to that, I want to say. You know what I mean? and I want to say that Gege's not going to make it that obvious. So I want to say that there's going to be subversion there when it actually comes to it. But as of right now, that feels so good to me, and I need to see that. Like, oh my god. Like, motherfuckers getting their shit zapped away, like, boom, 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 and then Maki just pulls up, like, and they try to do it to Maki, and Maki's like, oops.
Right.
Yo,
That would be fire.
I mean, the fact that she lopped, Ogi's like the top of his head clean off with almost seemingly no effort,
right.
tells me that Naoya is going to be no effort. Tells me that the other brother is going to be no effort. You know what I mean? So like, maybe
I
we'll
want
get
to
a few.
see. I hope Jinichi is the one Zenin clan member that I hope, whatever, doesn't get low diffed. I need to see full power Jinichi because that's Toji's like brother, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on the family tree that's like his like little or older brother or whatever.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the brother of Toji's gotta have a cold showing. If you want to fucking evaporate the rest of the Zenin clan members, we know they suck. We saw Naoya do some stuff like whatever. Ogi got clapped, whatever. But give me a true Jinichi showing, please. Is what I'm asking of Gege at this point.
I'm for it.
Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah. Well. Is that it? I think
that's all I had.
Yeah, I think I'm good, man.
That's
wow, what a
got as well.
conversation. Holy shit.
Yes. Well, with that, we can go ahead and get right into chapter 197 of Dr. Stone. A stony Eden and its forbidden fruit.
Look at this. First of all, look at this cover.
Mm-hmm.
I love this cover.
Yes.
This cover is nice.
This cover says so much. You could see so much. You can't even see Suika's face, but there's so much relief there. You can feel so much relief coming from, from the art. And you just have Senku that, like, it's okay now. I'm here, baby.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, fuck yeah.
Is that Kohaku's buckler? Kohaku's shield? Is that?
Yes, it is. Whoa, it is.
I think so, right? Pretty sure.
I didn't even think about that. I want to say that it is, and she's got a rocket drawn on it. I don't know if
I think it's always had a rocket on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I do remember that being her little shield. Yeah. What were you gonna say though,
when Inagaki gives us the continuity from the covers too, where it goes right into this little emotional scene with Senku and Suika, where he's like, "All right, cool, you were, he keeps telling her you were grinding, good job, basically." And like peeping how she was doing it and like commending her, like, "Oh, I see you did it this way, nice." And then he flexes, and gives us
nitric acid in 15
like,
minutes.
What the fuck, bro? And then we move into this Kohaku scene that like for me was so fucking touching. Like this really had me like tearing up a little bit. Like, man, when they hugged, it was just so.
And she had to tell her, she's like, "Yo, I'm like your age now, so it's not the same kind of embrace that we're used to, where I'm like a little ball in your bosom." You know what I mean? It's like, no, we're like sisters now, like high school type shit. You know what I mean? We're sitting at the same lunch table, hug.
But even still, with no words, she just brings it in.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god.
But yeah, a feel good chapter at the beginning for sure. Everyone coming back.
Absolutely. Chills, man. Fucking chills. Look at the way everyone wakes up. Ryusui, all you need is just a fucking crazy face. That's it. And then that's Ryusui. But look at Francois. Pirouetting out of the petrification. Like, come on, man. Francois, goat. Stop.
Chelsea. Funny as hell. And,
And
who's the reliable girl? I can't remember.
Luna.
What's her name? Luna. Yeah.
Did I say pirouette? Isn't that like a fruit medley?
No, pirouette.
Pirouette is what you were.
I don't know what you're thinking.
Exactly I'm thinking of parfait.
Yeah, no, you were right there.
I never would have gotten there. I was thinking, what do you think, pear?
All right, let me chill. Anyway, back to the chapter. Oh, come on, Knox. All right. Wow. Yeah, this is wild, man. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple things here. I'm probably going to skip around.
Eagles.
I don't know if you guys okay, you want to know what? Fuck it. Let's just go through the chapter. Okay. So I think it's cool how as soon as Shishio wakes up, his first words are Senku, where's Hyoga? And I didn't even think, the first thing I thought of when I read the chapter is how is Hyoga, because we just died together in battle. That was my guy. He died next to me. I want to make sure he's good. But no, he's asking how is Hyoga, because he knows Hyoga fucking died for real before he was petrified. And I
was watching him and saying not breathing, for example. You could tell he's not breathing for like a minute or two or three.
And Shishio, you know what I mean, being the physical, you know what I mean, anatomical beast that he is, can tell from a distance when someone is dead. You know what I mean? For sure. You know what I mean? You don't have to touch the neck, the heart, whatever. Shishio knows, and we can trust that he knows. You know what I mean? So when I was reading it for the first time and he was like, how's Hyoga? I was like, fuck yeah, bro, moment. How's my partner? You know what I'm saying? But then it's like, also, wait a minute. this means if he's alive, this means, and I like completely forgot about like his dying words when the raid was happening like chapters ago, and I was like, oh wait, Hyoga's definitely alive, and that means do, and then we get the confirmation. And at first, when Hyoga woke up, his eyes are closed. Yeah, I thought he was dead for real. I thought his body was fixed or whatever, but his soul was gone or whatever.
Because he was just standing there, like,
yeah.
But then he's like. Like like the top left of 11, like he like has that like breath, like
I thought that was showing us that he was dead until I like really thought about it. I thought he was just like, huh? And it was just over, and I was like, oh my god, that's kind of macabre.
Did he really sing this though? Like, but wait, what if he did just drop? Like, just crumpled?
I'd be fucking shook, bro.
I would be done. I would be like, no way. I gotta put down the chapter for a second, because that was definitely like a scene where I was kind of like, I didn't notice I was, but I realized I wasn't breathing when I turned the page. Like I was kind of like holding my breath. I was like, oh god, please, because this means a lot. One way or another, it means a lot for the story.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
But this on 11, this I freaking love you guys. I'm pretty sure that's everyone singing in unison.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Because like the bubble looks very odd. The very odd bubble, which looks like a bunch of bubbles mashed together. It might even be 16 if only 3, 6, 9, 12, 15.
Oh, you're talking about 16 tendrils?
It's 16 tendrils.
Oh.
It's literally the whole gang.
Yeah, that
singing together.
Great spot, Nick. You were right on with that, because I thought I don't know what I thought. I don't know who I thought was saying that, but I definitely didn't think it was the whole squad. That's good. That's good.
That's funny as hell.
Yeah, I love that. So my question is, what are they, okay, so he's like, yes, you've done well, definitely, and then the two meatheads jump into the forest to go kill animals, and they come back, and, you know, they have the pigs on the skewers, but I mean, like, what's that in their hands? Is that hide? That's hide, right?
Yeah, for clothes,
Probably,
For sure. Okay, I just wanted to, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to have the...
Right. Very interesting that, like, Suika gave clothes to Senku and Kohaku. Like, she literally dressed up their statues, but maybe didn't have enough time or didn't really care enough to, but didn't give clothes to everyone else. That's why they needed the hides, I guess,
Sure, that makes sense. I like that.
Weird.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Although, you know, she had 7 years.
She did have 7 years.
It was a busy 7 years. She wasn't slouching.
Yeah, she wasn't just chilling with her feet. Well, no, because, well, yeah, you're right, because after she sets the nitric acid field, you got to wait a year for that to cook. What are you doing in the meantime? Surviving, first and foremost. Second of all, your free time is probably spent setting up future survival, you know, situations. You know what I mean? So there's definitely not just because it was 7 years, definitely not like, well, you had all the time to dress all your friends. What you don't like everybody the same or something like that? You know what I mean? No, I'm sure she was plenty busy.
Kaseki bogus?
Dude, the Kaseki stuff. Oh man. Okay. Wait.
Very interesting.
Is that where we're at right now? Is that? No,
well, we went past it a little bit, but we can go back for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Kaseki situation, because, like, okay, now that we know that what the petrification and the depetrification means, like through and through almost to this point, I feel like we have a really good understanding of exactly how this thing works for everybody in any situation now, and like knowing that you can fix the detriments of aging. With this technology, and not just bring people back from the dead, and it's consistent because we know that, like, in the very early arcs of Dr. Stone, like Stone World into Stone Wars, this was a major point of conversation inside of the narrative, where, you know, if you have a broken pinky toe, I think is what old girl had who loves Taiju. I think she had a broken pinky toe, but she still had petrification left on the toe. And then you splash the revival fluid on it, and now that toe is not only healed, but maybe stronger than ever, I think is what they said.
Oh, sure.
Right? So you take that concept, that very little concept, and then you make that the reason why Senku is able to revive from his neck being broken. But it's all bone related still here. And then you have Kaseki going like, yo, my joints are, hold on, my bones are, hold on, I'm feeling 10 years younger in this motherfucker, you know what I mean? And it's like, whoa, okay, so not only is this literal immortality, but like you can make people actually younger.
It seems that way.
I mean?
And that way.
That's such a different elixir of immortality than I'm used to. And I've read a lot of immortal stories, you know what I mean? And like Riichiro Inagaki, this is easily the most creative application of this concept that I've seen. And I want to make a comment about exactly what the last double spread means inside of their confirmation of revival past death using the petrification of the Dr. Stone. And I want to say that like the information that we got at the end of this chapter, you know, was an angle that any of these other manga took that we review. I feel like it'd be very awkward and very sus that you're introducing immortality inside of battle shonen. You know what I mean? But it works so well in Dr. Stone because camp and stakes are just like never something that you think are things you need to see in Dr. Stone because it's so heavy into the scientific application of the method and the adventure and the characters. You don't look at this as a battle shonen that needs stakes, that needs, you know, all of this tension. And then when it gives it to you, it's wild as fuck, like we just saw in the last arc. But when you end a chapter like this, like, guess what? We're immortal now. Humanity is immortal. If that happened in fucking Black Clover, it'd be like, fuck you.
I'd be like, God damn it.
You know what I mean? But it works.
Alrighty, here we go.
Yeah, but it works so well in Dr. Stone. You know what I mean? And I just love Riichiro Inagaki for knowing the medium, you know, so well that he can look at a concept like immortality moving forward for humans and go, I can make that work in a shonen. Watch. Right. You know, and it's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Something I find super interesting on this last double spread, right? Senku and Tsukasa in front of this moon talking about how, you know, the Dr. Stone is a forbidden fruit and whatever, right? Like Tsukasa, he's always in this, you know, long black cape or whatever. But now Senku, for the first time in the whole series, because of Suika, has this black over cape, right? It's almost as if subtly they're trying to imply that like he's turning a little to the dark side, right? Like maybe embracing the fact that this thing does, it's a forbidden item, you know what I mean?
Well, look at science.
Might be a little reach, but like a little subtle. I don't know.
You think about like extreme scientists in like any fictional story you've read, a good percentage of them are looking for ways to make people immortal, and they're looking for their own
to help
alchemic or like whatever kind of application of science that they want to use to create a legitimate elixir of immortality. That is the magic that like hardcore scientists try to achieve in fictional stories a lot of the time. I don't want to say most of the time, but a lot of the time that is the goal of mad scientists or whatever. You know what I mean? So seeing this situation pop up in a science story where you have a character like Senku and you have characters like Dr. Zeno, this is probably stuff that they thought of in the back of their head while applying science throughout their entire life of study, going, can we make a Frankenstein? Can we make an elixir of immortality? These are all the taboo you know, can we bring someone back to life? These are all of the taboo things that scientists ask themselves, you know, like science can do anything. This is the understanding of nature and the laws of physics and why we are the way we are. How far can we take that understanding? You know what I mean? And I love how it's being explored in Dr. Stone, and not just such an organic way, but in such an interesting way fictionally. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Nullified.
Keeping on this final spread, it's the art is chilling.
It is
the second half of it.
It feels
especially
dark.
knowing that Y-Man is, I don't know, has Senku's voice. Like I always just go back to that. Like what is going on?
What does that mean?
I really want to know what the hell's going on.
Look at this face on the last page, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's such a that creates such a tone. Like that's so wild.
It really does.
Yeah. Like what is that? Like what is that?
His,
like
I mean,
yeah. Go ahead, Ronan.
No. I was just gonna play off the tone thing you said. Just the art in general, I think has like, after you pass the halfway point, it just has a much darker aesthetic to it. Really, I guess kind of focusing on, rather than like initially, like you'd imagine if you were told that you're basically immortal now, you maybe be happy, or you maybe have like a lighter tone, like there's nothing that could touch me now. But there's more of this like darker undertone of like, okay,
this is a problem almost.
Yeah, this is a problem, right?
Yeah,
because
they look
humans
concerned.
are not built to be immortal, right? And Senku has to know this, but I'd also imagine that science pushes barriers, right? And it's kind of like this humanity versus like advancement of technology and science, and that'd be a very interesting thing to see explored moving forward throughout the series.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
And then
what
you also
do y'all
have like,
think?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Nick.
I was saying, what do y'all think about the fact that Chrome is overhearing this conversation, and he's the last panel of the double spread, last panel of the chapter, right?
Right.
Is there could be a difference of opinion. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
Senku might be like, yo, we could use this. You know, like we
Right.
could make Kaseki younger, for example, right? Or we
Yeah.
could freeze him and like.
Well, that was fucking Chrome's idea first.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe Chrome's on the side of using this thing. Like, let's
Right.
really try and use it. And maybe
Senku's
Senku
against
is the
it,
one who's like
yeah.
against
Yeah, I
it,
like
right?
that. Well, when you first brought up this point, I was thinking about like the difference in opinion, but like also the subversion that Riichiro Inagaki uses a lot in his storytelling in regard to Chrome is stepping into a conversation he's not supposed to hear that has a
Right.
very dark undertone to it that seems very probably out of character for Senku, not for Shishio, but for Senku for sure. You wouldn't like Chrome probably wouldn't expect to see Senku and Shishio both excited about this development simultaneously. You know what I mean? Like you would probably expect Shishio to be like, fuck yeah, we can use this for this, that, and the third. And Senku going like, hold on, bro, this is a little bit too much power for people to have. And there being an argument. But Chrome seems to be walking in on something that he could potentially next chapter maybe assume that Senku is kind of like aligning with, you know, Shishio's darker outlook on this. If that is what's
Sure.
explored next chapter, who knows?
Right,
But
right.
I think what would be super cool is if Chrome is looking at this situation without full context, assuming a lot from Senku and Shishio, running back to like deal with his thoughts and go, holy shit, Senku got like a super crazy power that he's probably not going to know what to do with. He's the smartest one. We have to trust him. But what if Senku goes bad? Senku going bad in a story like this is the same thing as like Superman going evil in DC Comics.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's a big fucking deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Chrome, I can see him running, you know, back and going, holy shit, Senku might be, you know, on some Dr. Zeno shit, and then Senku being like, hey, bro, you didn't doubt me, did you? Come on, you know I got a plan for this, you know what I'm saying? We gonna revive everyone and then destroy Dr. Stone. What did you think was gonna fucking happen, bro?
Right.
You think we're just gonna be mad scientists with the elixir of immortality in our back pocket? Fuck no, I would love to see a situation like that, where Chrome actually doubts Senku for the first time ever, and then you just get that Senku confidence that just re-sparks the fucking wholesome tone of the entire situation.
Right.
I would love to see something like that.
I think it's very easy for Chrome to misinterpret Senku's excitement over a new scientific discovery as endorsement of using it, right? I think it's a very easy mistake to make, for sure.
Exactly. You brought that around great. Reader's Digest version of my long-winded statements. Holy shit.
Man. So good.
Yeah, man. Wow,
Definitely.
what a chapter, dude.
Yeah. I mean, do we have anything else?
I think I'm good.
Yeah,
I think I'm good as well.
Yeah, I'm good too.
All right, then with that, we can go ahead and get right into chapter 63 of Mashle, Mosh Burn Dead, and the Tall Tower.
Oh.
And let me just say, like, Wahlberg is so fucking hard body.
Yes.
Right now. I love this dude, and I'm salty that they cut away from his portion of the fight.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll
But-
get there.
Yeah.
I'm just so hyped to get back to it. But we
Right.
got some other really cool stuff
For sure.
from all the other characters that he released here.
This
at the
is
beginning of the
First page, I
Yeah.
find super interesting because, like, I swear, Innocent Zero did not have that line under his left eye from our perspective looking at the page.
Yeah,
like,
we
on the
didn't, but
right.
you were talking
I
about.
don't think we ever saw it.
We were
at
talking
all.
Right.
about in our last review last week the possibility that the left side of his face was hiding a line. I think you, Nick, specifically wanted
but
to
I was
take
thinking,
a moment. Yeah.
I was thinking it would be on, like, between the eye and the ear. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Because
sure.
we hadn't seen that part of his face. You know
You're
what I
right.
mean?
You're right.
But I guess the hood maybe was right on the line. You
Yeah,
know
it
what
was
I
just
mean?
creating
Like,
that shadow.
the shadow, so like you couldn't see it, but like I was like, oh, okay, so it's just right in the front of his face. That's fine.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
But that's cool. That's cool that we
Yeah.
get that confirmation there. I love the confidence of Wahlberg in such little
Yo.
dialogue, right? Because like this is exactly how we want to see old motherfuckers show out in shonen manga that have been on reserve for a while. You know the old dude in the background is going to turn the fuck up whenever they finally do something. Master Roshi,
Yep.
Isaac Netero, Wahlberg. You know what I mean? It all fits inside of that archetype of the old dude is going to do something crazy eventually. And when they do that, I feel like, yeah, go ahead,
Captain
Eagle.
Yamamoto.
Yeah, Yamamoto. You gotta mention Yamamoto as well. You can't forget like everybody that, you know, all the big shonen hard hitters in the old echelon. But like, bro, seeing Wahlberg just do things, I'll explain everything later. It's like, okay, well, if you're gonna explain everything later, then do whatever the fuck you're gonna do on the page in the art, and it's gonna be fucking lit. And then obviously we take away from Wahlberg for like the rest of the fucking chapter. But still, when that comes back to him, oh my god! First of all, he fucking stops the time magic for everybody else in the area.
Well, I think just these 5 though.
Is it just these 5?
He because he kind of said like protect the students. So I think to that.
Oh,
to me
sure,
meant
sure.
They're still asleep. Protect them.
Yeah, you're right.
Because the chaos.
Yeah,
the
because
chaos
you
of everyone
can't
running
have
around,
the power to just hard cancel all of Innocent Zero's time magic. I guess that.
Or maybe
makes
he
sense.
does, but
Or
was
maybe he
trying to keep
does.
them in one place to not
Sure.
have them be all chaotic and running around and getting in the way. Right?
If he did have the power to wake up everyone, why not just wake up everyone and have them defend themselves instead of just 5 to protect everyone else who's frozen?
They're weak.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah. Good,
Yeah,
good.
it's a fair question. Yeah.
There's a
for
reason
sure.
they're here watching the competition.
You're right. Hey, you're right.
And not in the competition.
Eagle, yes. Oh.
You are right on that one.
Yeah,
That
you
is a pretty
killed
good
that.
point.
There's a reason y'all in the stands and we in the Coliseum. You
straight
feel
the
me?
fuck up. Like, get out of here.
Bro, I love okay, so what's Buddy with the black twisty ties in his hair with his eyes closed and the sword, the flame cane, I think. I can't remember his
Yep.
name.
Oh,
off the
I don't
top of
remember
my
his
head.
name. Yeah.
But I'm just like so glad that he's in the mix and he's like, I've got to assist Wahlberg. We're gonna see him turn up for real with his magic, which is something that I thought would be saved for a confrontation with Mash, but it looks like Komoto gave us, you know, a reason for everybody to fight. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's cool that we're going to see that in a non antagonistic, you know, situation. So
What are these Nomu? What are these Nomu
Yeah.
that have appeared? Are these time creatures? Like because
No, he has
Innocent
dark
Zero has
magic.
Kronos, but Kronos is time, right? He has the
Yeah.
time. His wand is the god of time or whatever.
yeah.
But what about dark magic? Does he also have dark magic? Is that like his main magic?
There
That's
is
his
dark
main
magic
magic.
involved, right? Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
At the beginning, they called it dark magic on the scale to be able to stop time.
Okay, so it's all intertwined, I
Oh.
guess.
Okay.
I don't know how that links yet, but I trust Komoto to deliver that explanation.
Right. Or I would not put it past Innocent Zero to know a lot of random, really cool magic. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
If there's like various, I'm just gonna shoot a beam at you kind of magic, you know what I mean?
Right.
That anyone can do.
just base
maybe-
magic that anyone can
Yeah,
learn.
base magic,
It makes
right,
sense
right.
that Innocent Zero would have the highest application of that base magic in the form
Right.
of whatever, you know,
Whatever
Komoto
this
decides
is,
to
yeah.
show us. Yeah, but I like that idea because it always whenever there is a situation like that, so you have like your innate affinity of magic. It's like your Hatsu inside of like
Yeah,
Hunter
yeah.
Hunter, and then
Yep.
your base magic spells that anyone can learn is like your Ryu and Gyo and Shu and Ten
Right.
and Ren and things like that. So I love that dynamic whenever I feel that, you know, in a comic. So if that's the case, then fuck yeah. We have already kind of like gotten hints to that inside of Margaret's character. You know what I mean? So I'm here for it if that's the case. Absolutely.
Speaking of Margaret,
Yeah.
my woman's intuition. Okay, I did not see that coming. We
I
got
love that.
we got a bisky situation here.
Yes.
Like okay, damn.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, it's
Yeah, I
like
was-
as many Hunter, you know, parallels as we
Yeah.
can draw inside of a story like MASH. I'm fucking here for it. We've been calling Margaret Hisoka for how many chapters now? You know what I mean?
Right.
What were you gonna say though, Ronan?
I was just gonna say I was just reading. I just remember my experience. I was just reading down. It's like my woman's intuition. I was like, I did a double take, and I was like,
Yeah.
hold on, maybe I didn't. I was like, I guess it's just I just was not ready. I don't know. I was just caught off guard.
Well,
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
always known that Margaret's character was like, you know, meant to be very like ambiguous or androgynous in that way. You know what I mean? So getting a hard confirmation on the side of gender that you're not expecting from his character, because like even though it was androgynous, you still he was male leaning. You know what I mean?
Sure,
At least
sure.
aesthetically.
In some ways, yeah.
Aesthetically, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
in other ways,
He's got like,
feminine leaning and-
well, I
yeah.
mean, obviously when he transformed into his slimmer form, it was a little bit
Right.
more, you know, androgynous in that way. But before that, shaved head, barrel chest, big
Right.
shoulders, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it felt a little bit more masculine before his
Right.
transformation.
But imagine
so,
imagine Bara Bisky with a
True.
shaved head.
That's true. That's true.
Wearing guys' clothes,
Yeah.
say, right? Like
Yeah.
it would look a lot like Margaret, you know what I mean?
And
So,
that's
like,
true,
Yeah.
but Bisky was still very feminine leaning before her transformation. You
Yes,
know what I
yes,
mean?
for
So,
sure. And
so
it's like a flip. It's
Margaret,
like a
yeah,
flip,
it's like
yeah.
a flip. Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
Very cool. I'm all
Very
for
cool.
it, and it
Oh,
makes
yeah.
sense. Like because I was definitely thinking like, damn, like Margaret like got younger and also like hotter. Like okay, like this is interesting. It's like okay, cool.
Fuck yeah. And I love the reintroduction. Well, not the reintroduction, but we're seeing this dude with the Jesus thorn crown.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Cell War.
Cell War. That's his name. Dude, the names in MASH are so unconventional that they're so tight. You know what I mean? Like Order Madel.
Yeah.
Cell War, Abyss Razor. Like, what are these names? Like, I'm like, keep them coming, but like, what are they? Like, I've never
just
seen
random dictionary words. I'm gonna make a new character. Random dictionary word 1. All right, that sounds pretty cool. Random dictionary word 2, not cool enough.
How many different adjectives and nouns can we combine into fucking names?
And Cell War's about to drop this big ass spiky ball on the stadium,
and he remembers MASH. Yeah.
Well, of course he remembers MASH.
Well, kicked him right in his fucking face.
I would remember him too.
Yeah,
I would remember him too if he put his heels on my face. To be honest.
Yeah, I just loved that flashback. You know what I mean? Because you could Komoto could have just been like, you remember when this dude got his face pushed in by MASH, but the fact that it's like, okay, let's just throw the panel in there anyway and just kind of add to that. You know what I mean? He's like, oh shit, MASH is here, and I wasn't ready for what MASH did. I thought he was just gonna jump to the top.
Play the Dharma drop.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Boom, 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 boom.
I thought he was just gonna jump straight up to that motherfucker at like Mach 3 sound barrier break, you know.
Sure.
Boom, straight up to the top and just be like, oh shit, MASH is here now. But no, he said tink, 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 tink. You know what I'm saying? And so that shit was all the way down. I was like, wow. Yeah. How did bro not jump ship like before that? If I saw a motherfucker kicking my platform down one layer at a time, I'd be like, all right, well, let me load something else up for when I'm finally on crown level with this dude. And I guess he's kind of like loading the spirit ball or whatever. Spirit bomb.
I don't know where it went. I mean,
to it?
is it still up there, or did he just dispel it?
I have no idea. I didn't even think about that.
Right. I'm sure, obviously, he's confident that he's not going to get his face kicked in again, but I think he might. I think he might get his face kicked in. Oh,
he's for sure getting his face kicked in at least one more time by MASH, because that's the kind of comedy Komoto uses.
I just love this, like, traditional shonen, like, dumbass comedy at the end here. Like, you remember me? We sat next to each other at the entrance ceremony, right? You don't remember this guy? You literally kicked him in the face like 20 chapters ago.
At first, when I read this, the last page of this chapter, I thought MASH not only forgot who this dude was, but maybe also slightly remembered him as like someone who was like, I don't know, like maybe he was like blushing or something almost, that he was like, yeah, you sat next to me, you know, in class or whatever. I thought he was like nervous or something, like he looked up to him or something, like he thought he looked up to him or something like that. That's what I kind of like thought at first, but no, it's just raw. I don't remember who you are, and I'm making up a situation that we were in.
And it's awkward, He's like, I don't want to tell you, I don't remember who you are, but this is kind of an awkward situation.
Right.
Like when you see that random
classic
kid,
Mashle humor.
When you see that random kid that you went to high school with at the grocery store, but it wasn't someone who you know well enough to go up and talk to, but that when you see you and they see you, you obviously remember each other, but it's like, I can't, we're not comfortable enough to talk to each other, but I see you, bro. All right, back to this, you know, groceries or whatever.
Oh,
I love doubt.
Hey, you.
Oh, wait, hold on. So I had a question. So when I was first reading the chapter, and then it said, who said it? I think it was Lance. He said each of these things have the strength of a double liner. No, it was
Margaret.
No, it was
it was the
Flame Cane.
Flame guy, yeah.
Flame Cane sword guy. What was his name?
Sure. Well, I don't remember his name.
We just said it earlier. Fuck.
No, we didn't. We said we didn't remember.
Cell War.
No, but that's not the Flame Cane. That's the bad guy.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, my bad. Okay, so yeah, Flame Cane dude. Each one of them has the strength of a double liner. So I was like, holy shit, that's pretty crazy. And then you know, and then it goes, why are there so many? Move your wand, not your lips. Explome, Gravio, and it's like, when was Dote able to just low diff double liners? But then
right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, wait a minute, this is weird, bro. And then it goes, you know, later on, it's like, okay, we're not doing any damage to them. And I didn't know if he was saying we're not putting a dent in them because their numbers are so drastic and it's a battle of attrition, or if we're not putting a dent in them because they're double liner strength. You know, Nomus or whatever the fuck we're calling them, symbiotes, whatever the fuck we want to say that they are, like they're double liner strength. So that's why we're not making a dent. What do you guys think?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, really I almost want it to be like an attrition situation where there's just so many of them that, like, you know, we can't deal with it. But at the same time, it's like that makes Doubt's so awkward.
Very little sets.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I feel like it has
because
to
he's
be
literally one-shotting them.
Yeah.
That would mean he's literally one-shotting every single one, and it's not that he can't handle a double liner; it's that he can't handle 1,000. And I'm like, oh, okay,
okay,
Right.
yeah.
He
Like
just-
when
he
did
just
Doubt
jumped
get
in
this?
power? Yeah,
Yeah. So I feel like okay. So then I feel like it has to be. We're not making a dent in them because they're so strong, and this is just a constant, like a specific number of these things that are coming at us, and we're trying to deal with them, but they're all double liner strength, so it's hard. That feels the best, right?
yeah.
I would say so.
Because
yeah.
because Flame Cane dude just slicing through multiple, fine, that's good. That
But he even
feels great.
says
Makes sense.
they're
tough.
tough.
Yeah.
Like not like you, because you could say strength could be a damage output, but maybe you're a glass cannon, right? Like you're strong but also weak.
Yeah.
He's saying they're tough. Like
Yeah, so they have
AKA
double liner
high
strength and defense, or
Right.
maybe just double liner defense.
Yeah, maybe
and
maybe.
and not damage output. It could be a situation like that because we haven't seen them do anything to anybody yet. We've just seen them
Right.
yell and scream and be a threat, and then Flame Cane dude like blocks one and then cuts through like 3 at the same time, and then everyone else just kind of like handles them relatively easily. You know, so yeah, maybe it's just they're double liner tough and not double liner DPS.
Right.
Interesting situation though, because it's like I know Komoto knows what to do with power scaling, especially if you're going to make your fucking main character a physical powerhouse. You have to have an understanding of how you're going to make power feel in your world.
Yeah.
And you
Right.
want to make sure that you don't like fly off the rails and do something cringy like we see in like the later storytelling of Dragon Ball or something. So like, you know, so I feel I want to
You
say
want it to be
Komoto.
consistent.
I want to say Komoto has the self-awareness to keep his power, you know, feeling consistent, and especially in a situation where they're actually giving raw dialogue about how strong things are, you think that would be where the most, you know, awareness is going to be. So I have faith in that. I think we can confidently say that Doubt did not one-shot these things, and that he just deterred them like a stopgap measure, essentially, and was like,
Right.
yo, these motherfuckers are a little bit too tough. That feels better to me. So
I agree.
So what
I
do
think
you
the,
what do you guys
oh.
think about the dialogue we got from Margaret there right before the woman's intuition thing about she's suspecting these Nomu have a way to stop MASH specifically?
Are they? Where are you saying? Oh, I expect they possess a surefire way to stop him.
what page?
Page 12,
12.
middle panel on the right side.
I expect they possess a surefire way to stop. Wait. Hey,
Right
you
after
notice
she
how
says-
they've got us busy, but none are going after a sweet little mash. Oh, maybe Margaret is just wrong, and they're attracted to magic power,
And I was gonna say that it's the they is not the Nomu.
or the
right?
they isn't the
the
Nomu.
they is
Sure.
the enemy generally, including Innocent Zero and Cell War. They have a way
Yeah.
to stop MASH because they're leading him into a trap.
Right. Yeah. The
makes
they.
sense.
Yeah.
It's
The
very
they
possible.
could be just the antagonistic force in general, and not specifically the Nomu, because they're not specifically talking about the darkness demon things. They're
Right.
just saying they've got us busy, but none are going after Sweet Little Mash. Now, when they say "but none are going after
None,
Sweet
but
Little Mash," it
none,
makes
yeah.
you think that it's talking about the Nomu things.
Right.
But like, now
What if
here's
they could there's a million things they could do. Yeah, it's hard to
well,
even
here's what
theorize,
I was
yeah.
thinking originally, because I definitely did think that they were talking about these demons in this
Sure.
scene. And if
Sure.
that was the case, the first thought that I had was that they were just looking for magic energy to attack.
Oh.
And if they're looking for magic energy to attack, they obviously wouldn't see MASH. You know what I mean?
Right.
But these people are like, Margaret is strong enough and competent enough to be able to figure that out. Well, if they're going after everyone but MASH, it's probably because he has no magic energy. That is a very obvious line of thought, in my opinion, especially for experienced magic users. You know what I mean? So someone like Margaret just being wrong about the intent of these things doesn't feel right to me. So that makes me
Right.
think that Margaret is talking about the entire antagonistic force. But there is weird dialogue shit that makes me think that they are talking about the darkness demon things. You know what I
Right.
mean? And if that's the
Right.
case, then yes, they either possess a surefire way to stop him, which is going to be exciting to get information for, or, you know, it's one of the other possibilities that we brought up. You know what I mean? But that's definitely a very head scratchy, you know, situation. You know what I
Right.
mean?
The top left panel of 12, where we see kind of a funny drawing of Mash, right? One of these like less low detail drawings.
Derpy
look at
ones,
look at the derpy ones in the back, like the Nomu type symbiotes or whatever, right? Like they also look derpy. I wonder if that's because they can't sense Mash. You know what I mean? It could just be that they're in the frame, and so you draw everyone low detail.
Right.
But it also could be that they're meandering about near Mash, and they can't sense him because he has no magic. So they're like, I'm just walking around or whatever. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's
the last
super
thing I want to
interesting.
talk about in this chapter is this sky dimension that Wahlberg has taken Innocent Zero to.
I thought it
this
was just above,
I
far
thought
above
he
everything.
just-
Oh, you think it's above?
Yeah, I think.
I thought he just swooshed him up into the air.
because we've gotten a couple.
Because in the
okay.
previous panel, you get him just like whoomp, like swooping his staff up,
Sure.
and then they're right in the sky.
I guess they could be for sure.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
I want to say that
would
they're
be-
just above the clouds, above the conflict of down there, and he's like, we won't be interrupted here. We're so high up. It's kind of like how I took that, but they definitely. I mean, you never know the
He
capabilities.
also summons. Yeah, I mean, he also summons the god of the sky, so I think it makes sense, like
That they're
canonically, to like just literally just bring him up there and be like, all right, this is my domain now.
Oh,
right?
sure.
This is where we fight.
Yeah, this is my element. Okay, yeah.
But the fact that they're up here, to me, is so worrisome because I feel. I think it was you, Knox, last week saying
Death
like
flags
this
for Wahlberg,
is his Sarutobi moment, right? This is a death flag.
Now, if this is Orochimaru versus Hiruzen, then like the way that I expect this going is just Wahlberg falls from the fucking sky and just lands on the ground.
I get a very bad feeling of them being alone together up there for sure.
Because it's like, dude, what are you gonna do? The first introduction of Innocent Zero in any like respectable regard, he loses to Wahlberg.
He retreats.
That's
like,
not
no,
That's not Shonen. But a lot of these authors have been subverting those expectations. You know what I mean? Inside of what we expect to see from Shonen. We were talking about that in the Jujutsu Kaisen segment multiple times earlier in our review. We talk about it all the time across like everything that we're reviewing right now, because everything feels like a deconstruction. Everything feels like it's trying to subvert the expectations of what you think you've seen before in this medium, or in this genre rather, or in this demographic, whatever you want to fucking call it. But like this situation, I feel like can't be subverted. I feel like when it's the old dude, like, I don't fucking know, dude. And if it is subverted, I'm gonna be like, fuck yeah, Komoto, do you, man. I love you, man. But like, right now, it just doesn't make sense that Wahlberg gets the best of Innocent Zero in this situation. And I guess that's when subversion shines its brightest, is when you're so confident that things are going to go a certain way, despite you know, your inklings or your intuitions in one way or the other. So I'm excited to see how they do it, you know what I mean? Because half of me wants to go, it's so obvious you want to do it the opposite way, but the other half of me goes, if you do it the opposite way, what is that going to mean for our outlook on this series? You know what I mean?
For sure.
It would be a wild scene if they're just like in the middle of the battle and the fray and shit, and then Wahlberg just fucking
like right in front of Mash, like fucking Byakuga and fucking 1,000-Year Blood War smashed into the wall, like Ichigo save Soul Society. You know, like that was such a crazy panel to see. You were like, you never see Byakuga begging Ichigo to like help him at all. You know what I mean? And he's just like, the threat is too crazy, Ichigo, you gotta do this. And it's like, wow. Like, it would be a similar kind of situation as that, I feel like. Holy shit.
Well, does anybody have anything else for this chapter? I think that about wraps it up.
Oh yeah, I'm good. I think I'm good.
One super minor thing. One
super
super minor thing on page 11. There's a white Nomu. Looks totally different than the rest of them.
Good spot, Nick.
But I don't know what it means. Who knows what that implies or whatever.
Weird.
But very strange that it's just one different one.
Okay, wait. Hold on now.
It almost seems like a commander.
Sure. Love that. But let's think about this for a second then. This is actually a great thing to bring up, because immediately following that, we get the dialogue about how they're not going after Mash.
Oh, is this the special one?
So is
for
this
Mash
the
or something?
special one for, because okay, so think about this might be a reach. This is just what I thought about, and I just want to make the comment. So Hunter x Hunter Greed Island. The horse that has like the fucking trumpet mouth that shoots the bubbles out, right?
And you
it
gotta dodge some, but
it shoots
hit
the
some.
red bubbles that react to Zetsu, and it
Right.
shoots the white bubbles that react to Ren. And
Right,
you have
right.
to switch back and forth between Ren and Zetsu to get through the bubble field and grab the horse. So,
Yep.
like, if this is a situation where the black ones go after magic power, and the white one is either a commander, but he's also running after this dude, so that feels
But it could be
so
damage.
weird
You
now.
you can only damage it with, say, physical attack.
Oh, there you go, there we go, there we
Right.
go, Nick.
Right.
Okay, Nick, yes, okay, right. Woo! So you, so you fight the other ones with magic, but you have to punch the white
Yeah.
one. Yo,
Maybe, yeah, I don't know, yeah.
maybe. I just wanted to have the conversation because I thought about
Yeah.
it. It doesn't feel concrete to me.
Yeah,
But like
yeah,
anytime
yeah.
I
It's
get
too
to bring
early.
up, Hunter x Hunter references, I'm going to,
Yeah.
regardless of whether or not they make sense. But
Project Hunter x Hunter.
Project Togashi. All right. Anyway, that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else for Mashle though.
Yeah. I'm
All
good.
right, then I think that does it. Well, with that, we can go ahead and get into chapter 293 of Black Clover. Smash Injustice, man. And
Phenomenal
I've
chapter.
been loving these last
And they
two
got
chapters,
smashed,
man.
baby.
My
Oh,
boy
yeah.
fucking Magna. I mean, shit. If you've been following the show, you've obviously known for a while. I've been hot kind of at the fact that Magna has been left to the wayside.
Yeah,
so-
you have, dude. You've been like, where is
Oh.
Magna? I think the last time you were
Yo.
on the show, that was like your biggest point in the Black Clover segment. You were like,
Mhm.
when is
Where the
Magna
fuck is
coming
Magna?
back? Yes.
Yes, and the fact that I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a bit of controversy over this situation with Magna and Dante, but I think with the spell, the chain, it makes sense.
Look, man,
Mhm.
I think Tabata did a great job of keeping the win condition kind of hidden behind all of that raw Kino swag of the
Mhm.
knife edge deathmatch. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Is what I'll say because I'm a Yu Yu Hakusho fan. But like inside of this situation with the Soul Chain deathmatch versus Dante, I feel like the question that I was asking was like, okay, yeah, this is cool, but how does Magna win? You know what I mean?
Right,
And
right.
it's so
I think, yeah.
obvious. It's so obvious now that we have the chapter, and I'm sure a lot of people guess
Right.
this too.
I think
yeah.
I think it was fairly obvious, like to say, like,
Yeah.
oh, well, what about when he runs out of mana?
Well, he
But I
got
think
me because I didn't think about that. So
I
good
didn't
job,
think about that at all.
Tabata, because he
Not that at
got
all
me.
either. Like on that page turn when
Yeah.
Dante runs out of mana, I was like,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
shit,
was like,
let's fucking
duh,
go.
dude. I was like,
Let's
what?
fucking go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
now for sure. I'm like, my boy Magna got this.
Yeah, that was
shit.
so fire.
But yeah,
That was so
I think
fire.
I think Tabata did still do a good job of keeping the butt clench factor. Like, how is Magna
How
going to
is
win
this
this? Because
gonna
Dante
end?
still does have this regeneration we're talking
Yes.
about,
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
and so yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
And it's great because it seems like such an obvious win condition, but at the same time,
Mhm.
and I'm sure, like I said, Black Clover fans everywhere probably knew exactly how this was going to go. But at least, like for me, I was like thoroughly impressed by the subversion there, and I don't even know if it's subversion. It's probably just something that I didn't notice, and that it had all of the buildup, there for it. But at the same time, it's like I almost kind of appreciate the fact that that my retention for Black Clover isn't as high as it is, because then I can get surprised in these ways that add to my appreciation of the chapter personally.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I loved everything about this because of how unexpected it was. Like when I turned the page into this motherfucker with no magic around him, just shirtless Dante, like,
Right.
I was
Right.
like, oh shit! I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
fuck yeah.
For me, like,
Yeah.
and maybe my memory is just poor about
Mhm.
Black Clover, right? Like,
Right.
I've only read it the one time. This
Mhm.
this current iteration of reading it, right?
Same.
I don't feel like people running out of magic has been a common thing, right? And
Not
Magna,
this drastically.
Magna even says, right, like you're probably not used to it because a lot of people, especially a lot of Magic Knights, royalty, right? Like they have so much magic, so much
Yes.
mana rather.
They don't even
that
think
would
about
never-
running out of it.
You're never gonna run out.
I
Like the battle will
love-
be over before
Yes,
that. And
love that
to see
line
it
of
happen, it's
dialogue.
like, oh wow, that does make sense. And
Yes.
I wasn't expecting it because I feel like it's rare. I mean, people
Yeah.
can
I
correct
feel
me in
like
the
the
comments if
only
I'm wrong.
person we've
For
ever
sure.
gotten dialogue from on running low on mana is Magna.
Oh sure,
Oh,
sure,
A little
yeah.
mental thing like, oh, I'm running low on mana because he's like a commoner, right?
Yeah.
sure,
but-
sure. That would be
And I mean,
wild if he was the
he
only
get-
one that's happened to, because that would be such a perfect situation where the person he's fighting
Yeah.
is another person who is, it's almost like the ability was like a double ability, right? Where yes,
Yeah.
we're gonna equalize our magics,
Right.
and
But
then I'm gonna use
Magna's
the fact
going-
that I'm gonna run out. I'm gonna burn through both of our magics
Yeah.
with my knuckles and shit. And
Because
and
look
you're
at
using
Magna,
yours.
he has a very controlled physical form of his magic in the brass knuckles, and he's
Right.
already a delinquent fighter type by nature. Like, and like we were talking about last chapter when they were fist fighting and we didn't know how the fight was going to end, we were hyped for Magna because he is a hand-to-hand delinquent brawler naturally. This is his element. And Dante has physical attacks, but they're not like inherent. That's not his go-to. He'd rather just crush you with gravity, let you hit him a bunch and show you his body magic and demoralize you. He has a completely different fighting style than Magna. So when you bring it into Magna's element, Magna doesn't have to use as much magic because he has his concentrated in the brass knuckles. He's got the soul chain death match. The magic is equalized. He just has to throw punches and dodge punches. But Dante has to exert so much more, not just because he's not used to fighting without as much magic as he has, but also because he's not used to the fighting style of someone like Magna. So he has so much that he has to make up for in this situation. This whole situation feels so beautiful in Black Clover. This is the first time in a really long time that I haven't had a single complaint about anything inside of a chapter for one reason or another. And I'm so excited for the future of this story now that we're getting concepts like these. And not just the concept, not just Tabata letting the concept carry him over the finish line. He had this whole thing fleshed the fuck out. This whole entire confrontation felt so thorough and so beautiful that it's like it drastically shattered my expectations of what Magna's return was going to look like. You know what I mean?
I never expected this to happen.
Yeah, never.
Yeah. And these
no way.
these two panels, you know, this first punch when after he runs out of magic. This uppercut is so fucking vicious, dude. I'm like, yo, let's go.
And then going into the double spread of the double connect punch. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
The double haymaker connection. Yeah, go ahead, Ronan.
And then what really got me was Luck and Asta kind of like
showing up to
and they're like, hey, yo, did you just take down? Did you just take down this dude? Like, did you really just body him like that?
He scraped us! He beat the brakes off all of us by himself. And Magna, the underdoggest dude.
Soul chains him. Now let me beat your ass, give you these hands. Matter of fact, get knocked the fuck out, Dante.
This is so important because Asta and Luck are the two people that Magna were thinking about letting down throughout this fight. They were like, Asta would do this. Luck would do this. Luck is this kind of character. Asta's this kind of character. What am I even doing here if I can't reach their level of whatever? And then boom, the two that he's been thinking about this entire fight pull up to see him win. I have chills right now.
And like Asta is there kind of by happenstance, right? But like Luck right at the beginning of the chapter on the first page, Luck is zooming through. He stopped doing whatever he was doing. And he's like, yo, this magic, like Magna
he sensed Magna,
Magna pulled up? What's he on? Pulls up to see Buddy folded, crumpled on the ground like a fucking sack of potatoes.
Oh my god.
Look at him on the ground too. He's like, his neck is like,
just
like if he slept like that all night, he'd wake up with some, you know. He does look like a sack of potatoes.
Slumped.
Funny. What were you gonna say?
I think what also makes this very interesting is like, so at first, kind of like before we got this really fleshed out, I was kind of worried is like, okay, you know, Magna got this new ability, it's really strong, it's really powerful, and I'm like, okay, for him to jump this kind of like to jump to this new height of like Dante level, whereas Asta wasn't at this. He's been working at this for such a long time. For Magna to kind of just come out of left field and do this kind of worried me. I was like, I don't want this to become a trend. Then I thought about it more. I was like, hold on, this literally only applies to characters like Dante. Right. Magna,
powerful, big magic.
Yeah.
Literally
aura reserve.
High magic idiots that are arrogant. Right. That's it.
And just rely on their mana pool.
Yeah. And it's like, this wouldn't work on Asta. This wouldn't work on a lot of other characters. Like, so it's like Magna, like, it's like he kind of, it's like he became a specialist of sorts in order to defeat Dante, right? He was like, I'm going to disregard increasing my overall power, right? My physical stats, my overall magic, because those are things that I can't compete with no matter how much I train, no matter how much I work, right?
Yeah.
I can't even use rune magic correctly because of just how garbage my mana reserves are, right?
Well, I
so
don't
what
think
I'm
it was
gonna do,
specifically about Dante. I don't think he was. And you guys remind me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think he was specifically thinking about how to get around Dante specifically.
Right.
I think that what he was trying to do was just make it to where if there was an enemy that was above his capabilities, he had an answer for that, and anyone that was at his level, anyone that was at his level or below, he could deal with his own magic affinity in whatever way that he could create it.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah,
no,
and he just so
agree.
happened to run into Dante first, and
Right.
that magic that he developed over 6 months, or 6 months, was just so happened to be for an opponent like Dante.
Right,
You know what I mean?
stronger than him, way stronger than him. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I was thinking like they don't even necessarily need to be arrogant, right? Because I was like, man, if he hit my girl Mario Leona with the soul,
Oh shit!
I'm like, she would beat the brakes off him, but I'm like, hold on,
She would, yes.
Would she?
But it'd be a fair
nah,
fight.
she's definitely a brawler type that would
Yeah,
be like,
she would be
like,
there.
all right,
Same
let's see who's got
situation.
more guts now.
Mario
Let's see who's
Leona's
got more
winning
guts.
that.
He's got more to fortification because he's stealing half her magic. So even though she's dishing
True.
out some OD shit, he's
Yeah.
taking it.
He is.
Sorry,
You know
it's
what I'm
Mario
saying?
I
Leona
still
all
think
day, every
Mario
day.
Leona
It is
wins
Mario
in the Soul
Leona.
Chain deathmatch.
She's got that grit too.
Yeah,
She's
she's
got
got
that
the grit.
grit,
She's
you know
literally
she
got
does.
everything.
Fucking
She's
grit.
Magna on crack, steroids, and whatever HGH other performance
the
enhancement
Whitebeard
drugs you can
moment,
think
bro.
of. Yeah. She fucking died on her feet swinging on
Not
people.
died, but she
I'm sorry.
passed
Or
out like
yeah, she
standing.
passed out on her feet swinging on dudes. So it's
Right.
like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, Magna, but you got Dante. Be happy about that. But don't try this on Mario Leona, G.
And another thing that makes this feel really good, right, is the
Yeah.
fact that Magna cannot do this again.
Right.
That was a one-off thing. He was
Yes.
preparing this for 6 months, and to do this again would require a lot of preparation. Maybe not
Yeah.
6 months
I
because
don't
now he's
think
done it
so.
once. No, he
I
can't
think
do
we
this
got
anymore.
explicit-
He
Didn't
specifically
Zora
said,
say it like implicitly, like since we have such a little amount of mana, like these runes are permanent?
No.
they last
And
longer.
we can,
We've talked about this before. Actually, we talked
Right.
about
Said they
this in the
just-
last
they just
Black Clover
stick
chapter.
around, quote
Right. They
And-
said the way that we kind of talked about it. I'm sorry, Nick. The way that we kind of talked about it was like everyone with high mana reserves activates these runes and uses a specific spell that burns the runes out because of the magic potency at the time. But because of the slum kids, or the whatever they call them in
Commoners.
the series, the commoners, there we go. Because of them having such low aura reserves, when they activate their runes, their magic output isn't enough to fry them out, so they kind of linger for a while, and that
Yeah.
allows you to inspect
But not
them.
forever.
Yeah, and not forever, but that allows you to inspect them and research them and do whatever the fuck you have to do after the application, so that you
Right.
can create, elaborate, over time magical effects like these. You know what I mean? But he specifically said this is a one-time thing. But even though it's a one-time thing, it's only a one-time thing because of how much time was put into cultivated. He
Yes.
could take 6 months to create
Yes.
a new spell
Yes.
if he wanted to. You know what I mean?
Just
So
not in this arc.
in
Like,
this
he
moment,
couldn't do this again in this arc.
this is his
Right.
moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and
Right.
and now if Tabata wants to give him, let his aura replenish in a way to where he can just be regular Magna again throughout the rest of this fight, I'm sure that would make a lot of sense. But Soul Chain Deathmatch is not coming out again in this arc.
Right. Not this arc. Yeah.
I'm so confident in
Magna
that.
definitely said a few, like, one chapter or two chapters ago, that like this is a one-time attack that took me months to prepare. Because the runes do last, he was able to queue them up, right? Put them basically in his
Yes.
pocket.
Yes.
And then take
Pull
them
him
out when he
down
needs
from the
them.
cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A super in terms of the runes lingering, a super great detail in this chapter. Start at page 11. When Dante, his magic just evaporates, right? He's run out of mana, his magic evaporates, but the chain is still there. But
Right.
the chain, you can see little specks, little flecks coming
Dissipating.
off the chain as you go onto page 13.
Yep.
You go to page 14, 15. 14, 15, you can see a lot of flecks coming
Wow,
off the
the
chain.
chain links are breaking.
There's links breaking, and then it goes panel to the very last panel, where now the chain has fully dissipated. So
Yeah.
Magna has been without magic, with 0 mana, for like, I don't know, 10 seconds. And
Something like that.
the chain has lingered this entire time. So
Yeah.
like beautiful.
At the end of the
detail there.
day, bro, like inside of the visual storytelling that Tabata gives us, just like Nick kind of pointed out, inside of the chain links breaking and whatnot throughout the chapter. At the end of the day, bro, This is the most satisfying victory. This is the most earned victory that I've felt inside of Black Clover. This is the most built up. It has the most caveats, the most conditions, the most depth inside of a start to finish confrontation that I personally remember inside of Black Clover. And this does wonders for the Spade arc, because as anyone that has been following the show for any respectable amount of time has noticed, we are not the biggest fans of Black Clover, and out of everything else that we review across both of our weekly review shows, Black Clover gets the most slack in our gets the most flack in our in our criticisms, you know what I mean? And seeing this situation right now be born from a situation that I was confident we'd never see in Black Clover, I am so happy to say I'm eating all of those words, G. I got my foot in my mouth. I'm eating my shoes. Whatever the fuck you want to say, it's rain on Noxie time, because
it's delicious.
It's not only am I so happy about it, but I'm so happy that I was wrong in this way, because as much shit that I talk about inside of Black Clover in this segment, it's not like I'm just a Black Clover hater. It stems from my want to see Black Clover excel in the areas that I think that it lacks in. You know what I mean? So when I say we'll never see this in Black Clover, when I say whatever, I'm being cynical and I'm being an asshole or a douche or whatever. But at the end of the day, I want Black Clover to do this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And when it does it, I'm very happy that I was wrong about my assumptions of it. I want Tabata to win in these ways, especially if we're going to be reviewing it week to week around so many things that we do nothing but praise. We want Black Clover to do these kind of things that we love talking about in other areas of our review. So seeing it here now is just so beautiful, and I'm happy that I can be excited about Black Clover again, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I think
that's all I had.
Anything else? That's all.
Ronan, you got anything else for Black Clover this week?
I mean, honestly, just great chapter. Probably one of the best in a while. Really did everything Black Clover does well and more, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, outside of that, I think not really much else to say.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, with that, I think we can go ahead and get right into chapter 313 of My Hero Academia, High Speed, Long Range, Mobile Cannon.
What a title.
That's what I'm saying.
I also, like, ever since the first time I saw on Twitter, you know that, like, clip from that rap song where it's like, I pull up in that... I don't know if you guys saw that. But it's like this dude just, like, whipping his car, like, POV. Like, whenever...
Pull up in that...
Just to get back to that. Yeah,
that
whenever
is low-key fire.
Yeah, I started this chapter and just saw fucking All Might whipping the fucking Hercules, and I was like, oh shit, he's bending blocks out here. Wait a minute. But no, so a question that I had was like, so is it how tanky Hercules is that he's you know, gotten out of the situation, or, and I know he makes a comment about how tough Hercules is, but another question I had is like, is All Might just that good of a driver? Because it's like, if he is that good of a driver, why? You know what I mean? How often do you have to drive as a motherfucker who can leap cities and, you know what I mean, and change weather with a punch? You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to drive. So how are you out here Tokyo drifting and Fast and Furious and shit? But I think we can comfortably say, like, Hercules is just that tanky.
Yeah.
And he actually
is a strong car.
Right. I think if you're a character like, say, I don't know, Wolverine or the Hulk or All Might, right, where you can jump, right? You can jump to another city. It's still got to be stressful, right? Like, to perfectly aim that shit would be very difficult. You might land on a building, break it.
Right.
And to have a tight-ass car and know how to drive it and enjoy driving it, I think that makes sense for anyone, really.
Yeah, especially, and we don't know how, I mean, like, All Might could have been just whipping left and right since the end of that last all-for-one confrontation where he used the rest of his strength. You know what I mean? You don't know. It feels weird to say All Might, after losing his real power, decided to put that effort into driving. But
I
like,
foresee Deku needing a ride to his soccer practice. I will do it.
You never know, though, you know? It's a lot of off-screen All Might, you know? So you never know. Oh, funny.
But yeah, the resolve we see from All Might is pretty tight, man.
Yes.
Yo,
These
he's
dudes
still
roll
got the
out.
hockey. He's still got the hockey though.
Yes.
Oh man.
That scene was really cool.
Fire.
Yes. He intimidated those guys.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah. They said, huh?
Now, could we talk about the death flag there? The pretty obvious one. The day anything happened to that kid is the day I die. I was like, bro, you about to die real quick because Deku about to get. Listen, bro, Deku Deku not out here just bodying everybody he comes across. All right, like you gotta be careful.
Yeah, Deku is a pincushion. Even inside of his advancements and his growth. Deku is very much a character that takes a lot of L's before he gets big W's. You know what I mean? And that's been a part of his character pretty much throughout the course of his life, whether that's inside of his inability to control One for All and breaking his body before he knocks out an enemy, or after that control and he has full cowling, handled up to a certain degree, and he's just fighting someone that much more stronger than him. Like, Deku very rarely makes it out of confrontations with no damage, and not just no damage, but without significant damage, you know what I mean? So it really depends on exactly what All Might means by if anything happens to that kid, because everything happens to this kid often. You know what I mean? So I don't know exactly what he means by that, but I love how we're in a situation where we don't have to worry about Deku's, where we still have to worry about Deku. The stakes are still there, but it's not the same worry since this rebirth. You know what I mean?
Like
inside of his character.
Up.
Exactly. Like now we just have to worry about threats being stronger than him. We don't have to worry so much about his inexperience as much. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a cool situation.
But definitely like to kind of echo what Ronan's saying here, right? Like when All Might is saying the day anything happens to that kid is the day I die, he's basically saying the day anything happens to Deku is the day pigs fly, right? He's saying he's suggesting it's not gonna happen.
Right. I like that.
And the only way that anything would happen to him
Right.
is if I died and I was not there to put my body in front of the gun. You know what I mean?
I like that.
But to echo Ronan's point again, it could be a flag. You know what I mean? Like it could be a narrative flag, like saying like, okay, this might actually happen sooner than we think.
Right.
Unfortunately, we'll see.
Yeah. But I love Nagant,
scene
man.
with Deku, man.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Eagle. What are you talking about?
I was just saying that then we move into this dope scene with Deku where he's zipping through the buildings diagonally trying to avoid her line of sight.
Yes.
And then one comes cracking from behind him. He
Right.
spins quick, kicks it out of the way, but then gets like kind of gutted by another one.
Right.
Now
this is
a great strategy,
scene.
but like not he doesn't know that she has another ability, right? So his strategy is based completely on she's a sniper.
Yes.
Period. Right.
And I love how Deku has been built up since chapter 1 as a highly analytical, keen eye for detail kind of
strategist.
Strategist. You know what I mean? So, but in the earlier chapters, it was used as a supplement for the lack of power and control of his power that he had. You know what I mean? And now in this new area of storytelling where Deku has a newfound confidence and understanding of his abilities, we're seeing that analytical nature in a way that he has power to back up. And he's still shown struggling, but it's still just a completely different Deku while still being inherently the same Deku. And it's great how Kohei can show us that growth while still keeping him at his roots, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Right. For sure.
I love the fact that one, the danger sense, the little detail where we have the lightning strike.
Yes,
I thought that was
the
really
paneling.
cool.
Yes.
I was like, oh, yo, that's crazy. It's definitely becoming more and more second nature to him. I'm like, okay, that's fire. But what I also like is like Deku. It's crazy how Deku gets cut in the stomach and immediately he gives a little groan, but immediately he goes into he's like, okay, how, where, why, how can I stop this? Like immediately, no hesitation. He's like, I'm dumb. Like I didn't even factor that she could have been given a new ability. And I'm like, hold on, bro, I would have just been plummeting to the ground,
like
holding my stomach. Like, bro, did you really just shoot me? And then he's over here thinking, all right, how can I stop?
Why did I get shot? How did I get shot? What else does this chick have? And it's like that. Those are thought processes that can only come in a situation like this from experience in war. You know what I mean? It's experience in these kind of situations. So you can't so much just rely on the chapter number to say Deku has this experience. You have so much examples inside of the actual pages that explain why he's able to think this way under this much duress. You know what I mean? And it's great that we're able to just know that and see that upon reading a chapter like this, and that there's not, too much confusion there as far as why Deku is this capable. Obviously, Ronan just made a point of what he would do in this situation, but obviously this is the main character of the story that we've been following for 300 and something chapters, and it makes a lot of sense why Deku is able to do this in hindsight. But yes, in the moment when I was reading this for the first time, I was like, are you really that capable that you're having these thoughts after getting shot in the stomach? This shit, and it's not like a direct hole straight in. It's one of those ones that might as well be a sword slash where your guts are spilling out, you know what I mean? Like it's sliced across him. You know what I mean? Shoot. So it's like that's more drastic damage, I want to say. You know what I mean? Right. So it is very crazy to see a teenager, to turn the page and see a teenager thinking this, deeply after sustaining such a traumatic injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love Deku kind of like strongly replying to the sixth, right? Where he's using like the full output of the smoke screen. And he comes out and says like, yo, Ninth, like, I already told you this earlier, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't do this. You're at risk here. And he basically is like, dude, like, I got this.
I can use it in conjunction with the third.
Right, I'm trying to do this intentionally. It's okay, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, yeah, you stick up for yourself, Deku.
Yeah, so not only, like, you would expect, that's a great point, Nick, because you would expect these mentor vestiges to always have new information for Deku to use, but they
always be right,
or to like, always be right. Exactly. The ninth comes in and says, "What are you doing, bud?"
Or the sixth, yeah,
or the sixth rather comes in and says, "Yeah, Deku's the ninth." But the sixth comes in and he's like, "What are you doing, man?" And he's like, "Hey, bro, chill. I'm doing you, and I'm doing him, and I'm doing you know what I'm saying? Like, I got this, bro." And it's like, okay, yes, Deku has words for them, and it's like, fuck yeah.
And he's like, I was trusted to have one for all now. Let me do what I got to do. And I thought that was really cool. I like what I'm also super excited to see kind of like fleshed out more is Deku stringing together abilities, right?
Yes, and
Deku going from using him dashing into the smoke, using the smoke to set up his next technique. And I was like, that was really cool.
Whip to throw everything out of it.
Yes. And it's like these are things that like the quirk system as a power system, when it's introduced in My Hero Academia, feels very soft. And it feels soft comparatively to other power systems in the magazine right now and in the history of the magazine. It seems relatively soft because it's just ability, caveat, and then the glue is that it's a muscle that you have to train and that you can overexert yourself. That's really all that we had for a long time inside of My Hero Academia. And now we're seeing things inside of the dialogue and inside of our understanding of how quirks work with singularities and quirk factors and DNA and applications that show you that it is a lot harder than it is on paper. You know what I mean? Like this has a little bit more depth than something that I would call a tried and true soft power system. Like this isn't Harry Potter, you know what I mean? This isn't you know any of the more famous soft systems that we've seen before. Like look at this dialogue here. What does he say? Yeah, I know exactly what you're trying to do. On page 12, I know exactly what you're trying to do, but you're not proficient enough yet. You've admitted it to yourself. First, figure out how to handle two processes at once subconsciously. You've got that down. You know what I mean? It's like these are the kind of dialogues and conversations that you get inside of hard power systems. You know what I mean? But on paper, My Hero Academia is very simple. You know what I mean? So it's great to see in the later stages of the narrative just how deep the understanding of quirks can be. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah. And the fact that Deku's response. Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
The fact that Deku's response to like. One of the one for all being like you're not skilled enough. He's like, okay, sucks. Like I literally, what do you want me to train? Like I'm about to die here. Like I gotta. He's like, I'll figure it out, right? He's like, well, you know, let's test it. Let's see. It's if I don't do this right, I'm getting sniped, right? Like that's it.
Yeah, it's fight or flight. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to do this or I'm gonna die. So let's just see what happens if I because what am I gonna do? Just keep trying the same thing I have been trying and hope it works. Cross my fingers. That doesn't make sense. So I have to try something new. And holy shit, what is this quirk? Fajin. So like, did anyone look that word up?
I did.
Yeah,
There's a Wikipedia article on it about like Chinese martial arts and like shooting out like chi blast essentially. Like
okay, so it's not clones.
No, it's not
Apparently-
clones. as
so
far as
what
I
I-
can
This
tell.
is from the My Hero Wiki. This
What do you
quirk
got?
allows the user to build up kinetic energy and use that energy to release an explosive burst of speed and power.
So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
feinting the exit of the smoke to attract the bullet, then going back into the smoke and
No,
just
okay,
No,
so
no,
basically
no.
what he
goes
what he
into
does
the bottom
is
of
this,
the
right?
building
He
and
uses
blasts up through all the
Oh,
floors.
sure,
out the
sure.
top.
But I guess my
Top?
question is
No. What Ronan? How would you?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so he uses Black Whip to throw the cape and to throw certain objects out of the smoke, right?
Yes,
Lady Dagnant shoots those,
okay.
and if you remember on on pages 12 or 11 and 13, we see that he's basically like squatting up and down, building up momentum, right? He's almost
Sure,
charging
sure.
his legs. Then we see his legs build up, kind of like how P2 does. And
Yeah.
then he launches straight up in order to grab her.
Okay, so the way that I interpreted this was that that was like the pumping of his smoke technique. Like he was pumping out more smoke because he was kinetically
Sure.
moving the way that he was, kind of like Gear 2 inside of Luffy, where you create the increase in your bloodstream's production. And you kind of pump the Gear 2 into yourself, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like what I thought at first, is that he was just like drastically outputting his smoke with his with his squats or whatever. But I love that, Ronan. I think that's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to what Eagle was saying at the beginning of the review about how Black Whip was, I think it was Eagle, made the first comment about Black Whip being used to throw, different parts of himself out into Nagant's field of vision. So I guess I didn't, when Eagle said it at first, or maybe it wasn't Eagle, I can't remember, but when someone said it, when someone said it at first, I didn't fully grasp the concept until Ronan reinforced it there. So,
But he doesn't jump straight up though. He goes into a building and jumps straight up the building.
Straight up out the
Yes,
top of it.
out the
Because
top of
on
the
page
building.
16, you see the rumble. She's looking
Right.
down at the building. On
Yeah.
17, it's clear. He breaks out of the top.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Which is even more crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like jumping up in the air is easy. Jumping through multiple floors of a building, that's
Yeah.
difficult.
That's why
I
I'm
think
so
he probably,
glad.
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
he
yeah.
launched himself up and kicked through all the floors or something, maybe.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm so glad that we talk about these things for the first time for real in this situation. Because I had a completely different idea of how this chapter went. I
Sure.
assumed clones legitimately, and I even said
Oh,
that.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
For a
but,
second,
it's-
I thought clones too.
But it wasn't
Yeah.
until this conversation where, Eagle and Ronan are like, no, this is Black Whip decoys. And it's like, okay, that feels a million times better than clones. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, I'm wondering how he's invoking the third here. Am I forgetting something?
Yeah, I don't fully understand exactly how it's the thirds or what Fajin does, because
Right.
so how I took, yes, I agree that it's probably Black Whip that he's using to shoot out the backpack and the cape out of the smoke. I kind of assumed in my first reading that he was doing the Fajin kinetic energy blast of chi, shooting out the backpack and shooting out the cape.
And that would
and that this black stuff is Fajin, but
Right.
it looks so much like Black Whip.
It does
you know
look a
what I
lot
mean?
like
think
Black
it's-
Whip.
So
If it is a
Here's the
chi,
way
I just want to
I
say this real
interpreted
quick. I'm sorry, Bronin. If this is a chi situation, I just want to piggyback or dovetail off of what Nick just said. If this is a chi situation where it's I'm going to send a representative of my aura out in this way to attract the enemy, then obviously it's visual and she's clearly looking through a scope and she can see things escaping the smoke. But I guess if it was a chi situation, it could be okay, this isn't just a distraction, this is an actual body here because I feel quirk aura. Maybe they have, and that's a little bit deeper than what we understand of the quirk power
Right.
system.
I was
You
using
know
more
what I
like
mean?
wind, right? Just an energy blast that took the backpack with it or took the cape with it. But it looks so much like Black Whip. I feel
It
like it
does.
has to be Black Whip.
you're
but
right.
Ronan, what were you gonna say?
Go,
What
yeah,
was
go
your
back into what
interpretation?
you were saying, Ronan. Yeah.
So when you get a little bit deeper into Fajin and what it is a martial art, it's basically a sudden release of energy by using your body in tandem in a way that you don't. So if you guys remember, the best example I can give, so in Jujutsu Kaisen, the Mahito and Yuji fight, where he uses the Manji kick, right, where he
Yes.
releases all of his joints, his hips, his knees, his ankle, all at the same time in order to kick Mahito faster than he would move normally.
Yes.
Sure.
Basically, I would say this as the reverse of that, right? His quirk allows him to build up energy in an unnatural way, right? By basically Okay, so imagine you pump something, right? And you keep pumping and pumping it, and then you release it all at once,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. It's basically kinetic energy storage that Deku can use in an explosive manner, and when you combine that with the natural, like, physical stats of One for All, you get him bursting through a building at super speed.
Oh, so it
Yeah.
could even like play into MCU Black Panther vibranium costume, right?
Yeah,
Because if
storing
you
energy,
Similar
yeah.
concept.
yeah, because if you look at the
Yeah.
vibranium, suit inside of MCU Black Panther, and I don't know if there's a direct parallel to this inside of like Black Panther comic book storytelling. Exactly. But the MCU is what comes to mind originally because that was a factor of the upgraded Black Panther suit in his solo movie as opposed to like Civil War, or whatever we'd seen him in before that. Like inside of the actual movie, they actually have a point inside of Wakanda to say this is what this suit does. It collects the kinetic energy during combat. And then once you have a certain amount stored up or any amount stored up, you can press a button inside the suit that shoots it out at an AoE and affects everything around you. You know what I mean? So that could, because of the passing of Chadwick Boseman and because of the love for Western comics that Kohei clearly has, it could be a homage in that way. I want to assume that this is a little bit more planned than that, you know what I mean? Than MCU Black Panther, since this series started long before that movie came out, I want to say. I don't remember the dates, but if that is a homage to MCU Black Panther in that way, then that Kohei respect obviously rises
Yeah, that'd be wild.
in that way. You know what I mean? But wow, what a cool thing to think about.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Okay, wait. I feel like we didn't talk about Lady Nagant enough in this
The
chapter
scope-
because
the scope is
since
wild.
she's here, since she's been here, I feel like we've all been like hardcore simping for Nagant in one way or another. You know what I mean? And whether that's like purely waifu related or just badass related or just the emergence of a new strong female character in the narrative, whatever, everyone loves this chick right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the way that we see, because I was wondering why we were talking about it in the last review about how she doesn't have a scope. You know what I mean?
Sure,
and how she's just
sure.
been using like iron sights essentially. You know what I mean? Like on her shit. And now we're actually seeing that she has to go into a mode where she needs the scope. Even though she's a lot closer to Deku than she has been this entire time, she brings the scope out for the smoke quirk. You know what I mean? So like that's really cool visual storytelling, I want to say.
Yes, and a possible explanation, like her mission is not to kill Deku, right?
That's
It's to
right.
capture him alive, right? So maybe the scope here is that because when on say page 15 and 16 where she's like shooting these clones, quote unquote, they're not clones, but just the clothing and the backpack and stuff
Right.
that he's shooting out to distract her, the distractions, the decoys, that's the word.
They're real.
When she's shooting them, it looks like she could kill Deku with these hits. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
he's dead. Maybe the scope is I'm aiming for the shoulder. I'm aiming for the knee. I'm aiming for the
Oh,
foot.
making sure that I don't shoot a
Precise.
fatal shot. Yeah.
Right,
I
right.
love that.
You know what I
man.
mean?
I love that. Very
Could be.
good.
I think
Yeah.
a cool little detail in a Nagant scene on page 8 when she hops off the building, she uses the force from the shot of her gun. to
Yes,
propel
bro.
herself
Pew
forward.
to
Tight.
propel herself.
So
oh my
tight.
god. Great mention, Eagle,
Yeah,
because I almost
yeah.
entirely
Great
forgot
spot.
about that. And her arm looks so weird because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, look at this panel on 8. Because everything that we've seen so far has been her right arm, right? But if you like
it-
look closer,
It
and
looks
still,
like the left in this one.
it not only looks like the left, but it's like where's the rest of her left arm if it is coming from the right? And also she has her like whole hand showing on her shoulder on the right side, like carrying the butt of the gun.
Well, it's because like it is
Yeah.
her right arm,
Yes.
but like when you put your elbow out,
Oh yeah.
so if you put it back, now your hand is
Okay.
forward. So
Great.
that's why we see her hand. But like, what is the left?
What is
arm
the
doing?
left
Like,
arm doing then? Yeah.
stabilizing or something? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I have not. She's a contortionist. We'll just throw
Can
that
she
in her
make
kit.
for sure? I mean, I can't even like do that with my arms, River. Could it be that she
Yeah.
could put both her arms together and have like a higher caliber round or something? You know what I mean?
Wait!
Like a bigger sniper rifle. maybe?
Ultimate Mechamaru cannon, bro.
I mean,
Wait.
what is she doing there? You know what I mean? Like, oh man.
Yo,
Let's
that's
move my
such a
arms like
cool
that.
thought, dude.
She could have combined it to add extra force to like propel her. I think
Sure.
it could
Yeah,
have made sense.
yeah,
Like
sure.
that's why the shot moved her so quickly.
And she looks
I
so
can see.
confident
The-
as she's zooming around. Look at that
Yeah,
face on
the
the
smile,
bottom.
the smile did something to me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, hey yo, I was like, that was kind of clean. I was like,
Yes,
okay, Lady
yes.
Nagman, I
Okey-dokey.
might want you to beat Deku here. No doubt. You might-
I'm definitely rooting for Nagant as much as possible without like rooting too much against Deku. Like I'm literally on the fence as I possibly can be, just seeing how this thing goes. And it's like I love when an author is able to create that situation. It's like we've been waiting for Deku to be in this mode for so long, and Kohei's gonna introduce a wholly new character that we root for at the peak of Deku's rebirth. Stop it! You're different, bro. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
So if you look
Honestly,
on page 8 again of this chapter and page 3 of the last chapter,
Last chapter, okay.
the weapons are clearly different.
Okay.
So-
hold
She
on.
most definitely can combine her arms and make a more powerful rifle, or do different shit in general.
You said
that we
page 3 of the
haven't seen
last
most
chapter.
likely. Yeah. When she's holding it straight up in the air, you can see
Oh.
the top of the gun.
Yes, and the
But
barrel
no,
and
but-
the handle are actually aesthetically different.
What are you talking about?
So if you look at page 3, just look
of
at
the last chapter.
of the last chapter, just
Chapter
look at
3
that
and 12.
fully extended arm. Now
Okay.
picture that arm bent like we usually see, and just picture that aesthetic. And then if you go to page 8, that's a completely different handle. That's a
I mean,
completely
it's completely flipped upside down because she's putting it backwards. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same thing.
I don't think so.
Like
Wait. I see
on
what
page-
Nick is saying.
Yeah.
No. I see what
Page
Nick is
8
saying.
of the page 8 of the current chapter. On the
Upside
bottom,
down.
there's this like loopy thing with like little spikes next to her
Yep.
skirt.
Yeah, you're right.
If you look at page 3 of last chapter,
It's on
the
the
top.
inverted
It's on
side.
it's the loopy thing with the spikes going up or
It's
whatever.
upside down, yeah.
But still, like,
Right.
think about how that works anatomically then, on why we're able to see it. Like,
Because she is pointing it back.
right, but like now take this picture, take this panel on page 8, and picture her in the exact same stance as page 3 of the last chapter, and this doesn't even make sense physically.
No, it does.
Does
She's
it?
pointing it back. She's pointing
I
it
think
back,
it
which
does,
is why it's
yeah,
upside
yeah.
down, and then you point it up.
All right, well, maybe I'm just not seeing it. I trust you, though.
Yeah,
I'm not
I guess
seeing
I
it, though.
I guess I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? I don't know how to, like, articulate my thoughts
Maybe
on it,
she's
but, like...
not pointing it back in terms of rotating her arm up and down, but rather putting it to the side.
I'm gonna trust Kohei and just
Or
trust that
both?
he understands the anatomical.
It's the same gun in my opinion.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
opinion.
I'm gonna trust it.
You spit in Kohei. You
Yeah,
got it.
you got it. Yeah,
I don't know what
I'm just
you're
gonna
doing, but
trust
you're
that.
doing it.
I'm gonna trust
All right,
it.
yeah,
But that was great
page
to bring that up,
16.
though, Eagle. Yeah.
Page 16, when she's doing the multiple shots, you can see the top better. It's the same gun.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But great mention though. Either
Yeah.
way, Eagle.
Contortionist confirmed.
Yeah. Holy
So-
shit.
I don't know.
I don't know. Did you guys have anything else for Hero?
I think that's about it.
No, that's all I had.
I feel like we had such
I
like
think-
dense,
Yeah, I think that's about it.
potent conversations across the board for everything available
Yes.
this week. Holy shit.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks again before we get out of here, Ronan, for pulling up, man. It was great to have a conversation with you tonight. Super glad you could pull up to the podcast.
Appreciate you having me. Glad to talk about a bunch of anime and manga that I really do enjoy.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. With that said, be sure to slap on a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content every single week. And as always, take a look in that description box down below where you can find links to all of our individual social media accounts like Twitter, online communities such as Discord, places to listen to the podcast where you would, wherever you normally enjoy to listen to them. And also ways to support us through our online shop and Patreon. And while you're down there, you can find links for any of Ronan's stuff. You can follow him, subscribe to his channel, all that.
Yes, sir.
And with that said, another stupendous episode of the Project Manga Podcast wrapping up. I'm your host, Eagle.
It's Knox.
Nickums.
Ronin.
Sarabada.